The Pirate Journey of Arceus. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 476, Phantom Fruit and Finger Swinging. Cilicia, Speed, and Mizika, the three real fighters of the Beast's pirates in the original timeline, have now obtained their promotion qualifications in advance. Of course, they are all like Yamato at the beginning, with bruises and bloodstains on their bodies. This is the normal way to fight at this age. Violent people like Yamato who hold maces are the real heretics. The rest of the people were not sent home directly. After all, this is considered to have passed the preliminary test. Compared with those who have not even passed the preliminary test, they will naturally have some priority. But that is all in the future. These people were sent to the Beast's Pokemon Center for simple treatment. They don't have the exaggerated physique of Yamato who can restore physical strength by breathing. It is still necessary to go to the hospital for a physical examination. However, they did inherit the characteristics of bravery and fierceness among pirates. If they were given weapons, I'm afraid that they could really kill people just now. Then Yamato and the others held a simple farewell party for Robin, and then they waiting for the return of Tesoro. Previously, he had roughly finalized the problem of the mining company in Fishman Island. Now a large amount of mineral deposits are transported from the seabed every month. At the same time, his filming was almost finished. The filming work needed on the seabed was basically completed. What remained were some special effects and editing. Those things could not be done on Fishman Island, and they could only be done by returning to the Red Earth continent. Since the establishment of the film and television department of the Beast Fruit, Tesoro has been recruiting people everywhere on the sea. To be precise, since he joined the Beast Fruit and became the chief CEO, this process has never stopped. Bakura and Tanaka are both talents he found in this process. Unlike Kaido's pursuit of force, Tesoro is more concerned with practicality, so the two people who possessed the lucky fruit and the piercing fruit were recruited under his command, and during that period of time, he found an interesting girl, and a superhuman illusion fruit ability user, although the illusion created is not like Zorok, which can deceive people's perception, but if you insist, it can also be used as a substitute for Olga's ability. The biggest difference between these two abilities is that the release of Olga's ability depends on her own brain calculations, and what she can think of is what can be simulated, while An's illusion is different. The illusion created by the illusion fruit is completely based on the picture. As long as she touches the creature depicted in the illustration or photo, she can create an illusion of it. No matter how small the illustration she touches is, the illusion she creates is the same size as the real thing. In addition, the illusion can also copy the person's actions and words. If the target is a devil fruit ability user, she can even completely copy their abilities, but these are all harmless fake things. As long as there is an illustration, she can create and control any illusion. The deception, durability, and flexibility are not as good as Olga's. As long as you pay a little attention, you can see through it, but it is more labor saving than Olga. After all, Olga's ability can deceive the other party's perception, while she can only deceive the other party's vision. The illusion lasts for a very short time, and it is almost impossible to communicate with her. You can only watch the other party repeat some actions and recordings like a video. However, her ability has a unique feature. Her illusion can reproduce information and abilities that only Anne knows, which is not known to Anne herself. In other words, as long as you can get the other party's photo, you can infer the other party's ability through the actions of the illusion, and further collect all the information. Of course, the stronger the enemy, the more difficult it is to do. Olga can make an illusion of Kaido fight all the time with her imagination, but the illusion created by Anne will probably disappear after a few seconds. But it is enough for Tesoro, who is now a very important intelligence officer in the Beast Fruit. Through her and Bakura's lucky abilities, Tesoro can always grasp some habits of his competitors and make some arrangements in advance, which makes the people who compete with him feel that every step is under the control of the opponent. At the same time, she is also an important member of the film and television department. Her main job is dubbing and making special effects. Although she is only 11 years old, she was already a singer when she was recruited by Tesoro. He found them when he passed by an island. At that time, she was almost taken away by a group of pirates. Her original folk performing troupe was attacked by pirates and no longer existed. Only she relied on some illusions to persist for a while. After solving the group of pirates, Tesoro naturally brought him back and made her a contracted artist of the beast fruit on the condition that he would make her famous in the future. He and Stella were both well known in the entertainment industry, and the Fruit of Beasts was also a legitimate company, so she easily believed Tesoro. At this time, she was busy making special effects inside the company, while Tesoro brought Bakura to Onigashima again. His report was written in great detail, emphasizing the role of Bakura's ability in the development of the company, so Bakura obtained a designated skill, finger waving. By waving fingers to stimulate the brain, it is possible to use any magical skill. The biggest feature of this skill is uncertainty. It is possible to shake the fingers for a long time and only shake out a water splash, or it is possible to use a powerful skill with 4 times the restraint. And Bakura's fruit ability can be said to be a perfect match for this skill. In theory, the lucky fruit is superimposed with the finger waving, and she can always use the most suitable skill. However, theory is theory, and reality is a bit cruel. Bakura, who just used the finger waving skill, successfully used the seed machine gun and shot the target in front of her clean, but the price was that she almost lay flat. When ordinary people use the abilities of Pokemon, they consume their own physical strength. However, Bakura's physical strength is only that of an ordinary person, and even weaker among ordinary people. A few skills will drain her physical strength. The seed machine gun, a skill that consumes little energy, made her pant. I'm afraid she can't use some powerful skills at all, and the pre-shake is very long. Tesoro let her strengthen her training after returning. Her physical fitness is too poor. I understand. I will pay attention to this. If you have nothing else to do, I will go back first. If the movie wants to be released, I have to smooth out the relationship. You know what kind of people those world nobles are. Nothing else, but you have to take one more person with you this time, Robin. Nico Robin was called out by Arceus. Looking at this girl, Tesoro didn't understand what Arceus meant. From now on, she will be your assistant for the time being. Take her to get familiar with the environment outside. When you think she can handle something skillfully, you can let her leave. Chapter 477 I betrayed you first. Unlike Robin in the original timeline who was wandering among various forces at the age of 8, the current Robin has experienced less after all. It is difficult to grow up without experiencing some things personally. The companies under the beast fruit are all legal companies registered with the world government, but the business is not so simple even if the company is legal. There are too many black transactions. Nowadays, all the companies that can rank in Mirajah are like this. They have their own trading partners behind them. Robin was arranged to study with Tesoro for a period of time, and then let her act on her own, after she is familiar with these things. In addition to some clothes and books, she brought only gifts from friends and the tearful lizard. Elizabeth had no feelings for her offspring at all, and she handed it to Robin with confidence. At first, Tesoro didn't take it seriously, just as an intern. 16 years old can be regarded as an adult after all. Bakura and An can handle it, so in his opinion, adult Robin should not be difficult. By the way, pay more attention to the tattoo on your shoulder. Don't expose it. If someone finds it, remember to tell me, and I will deal with him. Some things are seen through but not revealed. Even if those people know that the beast fruit is the white glove of the beast pirates, they still let it develop in the face of huge profits. Just like the world government tolerated Morgans, as long as the benefits brought are large enough and do not destroy their balance, it can exist. However, face-saving projects still have to be given. The same name can be said to be similar, but they will not accept someone carrying a pirate flag freely in and out of the Red Earth continent. Therefore, the beast fruit has its own unique logo, and people with pirate flag tattoos on their bodies will not be exposed. Don't worry, it won't cause trouble. Robin covered the sleeves in that position and even demonstrated her ability. The petals on the shoulder were flying, and a piece of skin covered the tattoo that was originally drawn. She said that, even if the sleeves fell off accidentally, she had a way to cover it up. That was her additional use of the ability of the flower fruit. The ability of the flower fruit is to create more body parts like blooming. In addition to the regular hands, feet and facial features, skin is also within her manufacturing range. This is not difficult, and it is still the basic ability of the flower fruit. In the past, she did not have time to develop her own fruit. With the help of others, she made some additional developments on the fruit. For example, she generated skin to cover things. Since it was her own skin, she could not see any big difference. However, it takes time and energy to activate the ability, so most of the time she chose to cover that part with a sleeve. In the following period of time, Tsuruo found that Robin was a little bit wrong. It was not that she learned too slowly, but that she learned too fast. At first, she just followed behind Tsuruo and listened to his negotiations with some people. No one thought it was strange that Tsuruo brought a new woman to such an occasion. To be precise, the only female companion of Tsuruo before was Stella, which was strange to them. Although Bakura would follow Tsuruo, the difference in status between the two was obvious. At first, they did not have that kind of relationship. However, Robin did not have that kind of respectful feeling towards Tsuruo, but more like a collaborator. Changing female companions is a normal thing for men here. Such a Tsuruo made them more accustomed to it, but after only a few months, they no longer wanted to see Robin. She was even more terrifying than Tesoro in negotiation, and her dark side made her even more difficult to deal with than Tesoro sometimes. Tesoro could only rely on On's ability to estimate the habits of his opponents, but Robin directly eavesdropped on the other party's conversation, and they didn't even notice that there was an extra ear in the blind spot of their sight. After working in the beast fruit as a secretary for a few months, Tesoro had to say that he had nothing to teach her, so he let her do whatever she wanted. This identity worked well outside, and it was very convenient for her to act on the Red Earth continent. However, there were no ruins on the Red Earth continent that she wanted to investigate, and the archaeological teams generally did not dare to go to the places they wanted to investigate. Those who dared to act there were some illegal organizations. This was the impact of the O'Hara incident. The world government's strategy of killing the chicken to scare the monkey played a certain deterrent role, and many archaeological islands had to consider many things before exploring. She needed to enter an illegal organization to find some opportunities to explore the ruins, so under the operation of Tesoro, she temporarily left the beast fruit. Then she dressed up a little and joined the shell company of an organization as an accountant who cooked accounts, because according to the information found by Beishao, this organization has been secretly exploring a ruin. She was just a secretary, not a wanted criminal, and no one knew her specific identity, so she easily mixed into the organization and followed their people to find a ruin on an unknown island. Hey, Robin, make the account more beautiful. If those guys find out, they will bleed again. I know, I have done it a long time ago. Their voyage was just a means of money laundering. The purpose was to make the money in their hands cleaner, which was also the purpose of their exploration of this ruin. If they could find the treasure, it would be good, but if they couldn't, it would be nothing to regret. It's a pity. There is only such a broken stone on this island, and the remaining treasure is not enough to be divided. One of them complained about this problem, but there has been a strange way of dividing things since ancient times. If the resources to be distributed cannot be increased, then the number of people to be distributed will be reduced, and civil strife also occurred in this organization. Do you really want to do this? Looking at the muzzle of the gun pointing at his head, Robin did not panic at all, but calmly asked the other party, well, although the treasure is not much, it is enough for us to share. Although you have done a good job in accounting, if you are alive, the higher-ups may find us, so I can only bid you farewell. Get used to it in the next life. Betrayal is common in such an organization. Thank you for reminding me, but I have to return this sentence to you. I have betrayed you from the beginning. It should be said that we are not the same kind of people. Before Robin finished speaking, the other party felt something was wrong. He wanted to shoot, but his fingers were powerless. A thin tail with a blade had cut off his arm. Elizabeth appeared here at some point, and on the coast, the shadow fox also showed its figure. Chapter 478 Archaeology is the primary productive force. This is the biggest difference between fighting alone and acting as a team. In the original timeline, she could only rely on herself. Even if she wanted to explore history, she had to rely on other organizations, and she had to prevent such a situation from happening. But now it is different. She has plenty of time to study slowly afterwards. As long as she is sure that the things she finds are valuable, she can apply for assistance. With the location of the life card, the people nearby can find her quickly. Treasures, stone tablets, historical texts, devil fruits, famous swords, anything valuable is fine. This is also the agreement when the beasts took them away from O'Hara. The documents can be studied by them, but the things with actual value belong to the beasts. Here is a historical text. Although it is not the last missing red signpost text, the beasts also need the historical texts that record important information. Things that have been passed down for so long may contain some secrets. The mysteries of hundreds of years ago are also what they want to know. Although Jin and Shaina are the survivors of the Lunaria tribe, some news has long been lost. Now archaeology is the only solution. Elizabeth shook her tail, leaving no trace of blood on the sharp blade. Then a few drops of water appeared on her fingertips. The water drops with strong penetrating power were shot out by her like bullets, instantly piercing the hearts of several people in the distance. At the same time, a series of explosions occurred on their ships anchored in the bay. The ships of this organization sank directly under the firebombing of the Shadow Fox. The nictitating membrane covering Elizabeth's eyes still did not open. As a special structure of reptiles, the nictitating membrane of the thousand-faced chameleon not only plays a biological role in protecting the eyes and moistening the eyeballs, but also serves as the radar of this tribe. The special structure on the nictitating membrane can analyze the enemy's weaknesses and see some things that cannot be seen by the naked eye, such as a tearful lizard behind a stone. She is the biological mother of this tearful lizard, but the first person it saw when it was born was Robin. Elizabeth has no special feelings for him, so she is just teaching the younger generation. For example, the angle just now can fire water guns and the like. Although there is a big difference between the tearful lizard and the thousand-faced chameleon, the tearful lizard cannot shoot high-speed water bullets freely like the thousand-faced chameleon, but their water guns are not for watering flowers. At worst, the ingredients in the tear glands can be integrated into the water gun. Even if the substance is diluted, it is still a powerful tear gas for humans. Although Elizabeth has not experienced the first two forms of the thousand-faced chameleon, as the final evolution of the tearful lizard, the abilities of the two have certain similarities. When Elizabeth was educating her juniors, Olga also came here with her own people. Little Robin, did you find anything? A piece of historical text, but I haven't seen the specific content yet. Got it, I will take it back. The Beast's pirates collected not only rubbings of historical texts, but also the original historical texts, although in the eyes of the world, the most important thing about historical texts is the information recorded on them. However, as a special stone that has not been destroyed for hundreds of years, there may be unknown secrets on it. If the situation permits, taking these things back is the best solution. Take the treasures with you. Money is something that cannot be wasted. Since they were here, they would not let go of the treasures. They arranged for a few people to pack up the treasures outside, and the rest followed Robin into the ruins. We are just repeating what others say. Robin, is this what you mean? Olga could understand ancient texts now, but she was a novice in some aspects. She could not even pinpoint some of the translations. Robin was the most professional translator. It's okay to understand it this way. This seems to be a research log, talking about some special technologies hundreds of years ago, but what's wrong? Look here, and here. The text in these places means that it seems that this world had more advanced technology hundreds of years ago. Most people think that the future is more advanced than the ancient times, but the information in this text seems to refute this view. In a sense, it is not surprising. Aquaman is a mermaid princess, but Pluto has always been a huge warship in the records. They are called ancient weapons, and were naturally made in ancient times. But now this thing is gone, which means that some technologies now are not as good as those in ancient times. This situation is not uncommon in some worlds. For example, Some protists seal up their weapons because they think their weapons are too powerful. When facing the Zerg invasion, the fastest way to develop their weapons is not to study them, but to go to archaeology. The warships left over from the Golden Age have become the reliance of the protists and later generations. From this point of view, there are similar situations in this sea. The existence of the world government has not promoted progress, but has led to regression. And those things from the ancient times are in their hands, and they can use this to achieve dimensionality reduction. No wonder they are so afraid of exploring history. Forget it, don't worry about it for now. The things recorded in this historical text are not comprehensive. If we can't find the context, we can only guess blindly. Based on the inferences of those few words, they were unable to finalize some details. In the end, they loaded this historical text on the ship and took it away, intending to let the doctors over on Onigashima study it slowly. With the historical text, Olga returned directly to Onigashima, but did not take Robin with her. Instead, she placed her on a nearby island. The discovery of the ruins made her more curious about what happened in the past and determined her goal of exploration. According to the information compiled by other scholars of O'Hara, she first set her sights on the Four Seas. Compared with Paradise and the New World, it is safer and easier to explore there. Robin's departure did not affect Onigashima, but other forces suffered. Robin has a strong talent for learning, and learned a lot during the time she followed Tesoro. With those things and her own black belly, she thrived in various forces, but the organization that took her in often encountered accidents, but she was able to escape unscathed every time. Gradually, she also made a name for herself in the underground world, but it was not a good reputation. Although she is very capable, the forces that dared to let her work are often destroyed due to internal strife. So in the past year, she has won the title of Black Widow of the underground world with the destruction of 3 underground organizations. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 479, Excited Late Night Party. The Underground Black Widow, after joining any organization, that organization will be in trouble soon, but there are still organizations that dare to accept her, just like the people who were solved by Elizabeth before. Betrayal is the norm in this organization. Because they are used to this norm, they value ability. As long as the ability is sufficient, they dare to accept people, even if they have ulterior motives. Everyone has different ideas. In the end, who can be the one who can be the one who is the one who is the one who is the one who is the one? And Robin's ability is somewhat superior. She did many things without any flaws. Outsiders did not find that the destruction of the organization was related to her at all. They also admired her ability to escape. Even the encirclement of the Navy did not catch her. However, there was a reason why those people did not catch her. It was originally her who contacted Tesoro to report to the Navy. If she was caught, it would be a joke. So the underground world just thought that this person's luck was problematic and had not found other problems. Some people even felt that their fate could suppress this Black Widow and took the initiative to recruit her. While Robin continued to explore history, some groups who stayed up late were born in Onigashima, such as Setsuna, who stayed up late to write a diary. She would write in her diary regardless of the weather, and she would write a sentence or two even if today was particularly dull. January 18th, 1509. Sunny life is still full of fun, and it doesn't feel as dull as my mother said. Maybe Zorora is completely different from my father. Perona is staying up late more and more, so I have to find a way to get her to sleep earlier. But her skin is really good. Even if she stays up late like this, she doesn't have acne or dark circles under her eyes. This is a special case among humans. The fur tribe will basically not be bothered by this problem. Because of their special static skin, they never worry about skin problems. The only thing that bothers them is hair loss. Compared with humans' troubles with hair loss, middle-aged fur tribes are more troubled by hair loss. The horror of waking up and seeing a bed of hair is a feeling that humans can hardly understand. However, people with alopecia can also understand that seeing their own falling hair is like cutting flesh. Putting down the feather pen in her hand, Setsuna looked at Perona, who was still playing with the bear, and shouted to her, "Go to bed. Don't you have to watch the game tomorrow?" Perona was very well behaved most of the time. Except for staying up late, she basically obeyed her every word. It seemed that the spirit fruit made her mental strength different from ordinary people. So Setsuna's requirements for her were much looser than those of ordinary children. But now it was already early in the morning. Even if she was a wolf fur, she was going to rest, so naturally she shouted to Perona to go to bed quickly. At this time, she was not the only one who advised others to go to bed early. There was also page 1 in the Ghost Island. "Sister, it's time to go to bed. Don't you feel sleepy?" This year, page 1 is already 7 years old and no longer lives in the same room with Ulti. Even siblings have to avoid some things as they grow older. However, page 1 did not live in Jack's room, but lived in 2 rooms of a suite with Ulti. At this time, Ulti pulled page 1 to practice in the living room of the suite. "Ziope, tomorrow is the day of the competition. Aren't you nervous?" "Sister, you are too nervous. That ranking has nothing to do with us now, right? The competition they are talking about is the internal position changing battle of the beasts. In theory, the challenge can be launched at any time, but it is difficult to find the time on weekdays. Now is the time for the annual meeting of the beasts. Taking advantage of this time, the beasts pirates will organize a special sports meeting within the beasts. The position of the new number holder will be decided in this event, which is also the reason why many people are so excited that they can't sleep. Why is it not related? That ranking affects the treatment. The higher the ranking, the more welfare benefits you will get. Apart from other things, part of the income from the beast's fruit is taken out as bonuses. The most ordinary members only have food and accommodation, and only fight to get dividends. With a number, even if you do nothing, you will get a lot of Bailey every month. This is how Mandafesh saved enough money to buy an island. But we are still learning, so the pocket money is enough, right? No, Peggy, I understand now. That idiot Kaido doesn't care about anything. Although he is the captain, it is Lord Arceus who affects other things. She felt a pain in her ass when she mentioned this name. Shaina taught her enough lessons. Look, Sasuke brought back the stone tablet, so even some disrespectful behavior can be forgiven. As long as we get a higher status, we can become stronger, and then we will find the stone tablet and bring it back. Lord Arceus will be very happy, and we can move out and get an independent house, far away from Jack, the pervert, and it will be enough for the 2 of us to live together. At first, Peggy 1 was still listening carefully to Ulti's arrangements. After all, those words made sense, but as he spoke, something was wrong. It turned out that he still overestimated his sister's thinking. In this respect, she is somewhat similar to Yamato. When facing Kaido, Yamato will passively use his combat IQ to the maximum, and this brother can also adopt various ways of acting cute when facing her younger brother, so that Peggy 1 has to pay attention to her. So tomorrow is the first time. We have to get a place first. As she said this, she turned her head and hit the human-shaped target in the room. Looking at the marks left by her axe teeth, Ulti smiled. "Come on, Peggy, I believe you can do it. Let's practice for a while and we will go to rest soon." They are not only practicing before the battle, but also excited about participating in such a large-scale event for the first time. This situation does not only happen to them, but also some new members have similar situations. For example, Sasuke, who is still in the rabbit bowl mining field at this time, although he has been bullied for a while. After joining the Beast's Pirates, he has survived that stage and is preparing to seek a suitable position in this trial. Just like Ulti at the beginning, after experiencing some things, he also found out the situation inside the Beast's Pirates, but this does not affect his personal worship of Kaido. In the rabbit bowl mining field, he was colliding with the tall Boskada. Raw. Boskada's heavy body ran and crashed into Sasuke, who had transformed into a power. Sasuke did not dodge, but confronted Boskada head-on. This was also his training method during this period in the mining field. From the beginning, when he was about to collapse to now being able to wrestle with Boskada, Sasuke has also experienced his own growth. Chapter 480. Once again, Quinn is the only one injured in the world. If it was only some people like Shaina who made things difficult for him, then the Pokemon would not hold back in their sparring with him. Even if Arceus valued those mythical beasts more, he was still the creator of these Pokemon. As a Pokemon created by Arceus himself, Sasuke successfully made his favorability negative at the beginning. After such a long time, he finally made his favorability positive. The facial bones of the fortress dragon are very hard. In the collision with Boscadora, his ability to withstand blows is constantly improving. Hey, aren't you sleeping? You are disturbing the people. The tonnage of the two of them is almost two small tanks, and they have the same rock plus steel attributes. When they collide with each other, it's like a dull gong. Prisoners have no human rights, and they can only endure the behavior of the guards. Other Pokemon watched the excitement in various corners. Pangyanga even dug a more comfortable pit for himself. The night watchmen were too lazy to pay attention to them, but the people who took shifts to rest were different. Babanuki, wearing a nightcap, walked out with an unhappy look on his face, picked up a stone, and threw it at Sasuke. No matter what happens in the future, he is still the other party's boss now. You are too excited. Go to rest quickly, or go on duty. Then he went back to the house and fell asleep. Then the mining field became quiet for a while, and only Sasuke was practicing something silently. Like Ulti, he also wanted to climb to a higher position, but he wanted to be closer to Kaido. Kaido had trained him for a few days as promised, but it was just a few days. After giving him some pointers, he no longer cared about him. Occasionally, when he was on vacation, he would pay attention to the life-saving cries from Onigashima. Sasuke even felt jealous, and he also wanted to receive more guidance from Kaido. If Yamato, who had been trained by Kaido, was allowed to spend some time with him, she would probably think he was crazy. The next day, the transformed Onigashima was opened again, but there was no wedding venue. This time it was open just to make enough space. As time goes by, the strength of the beast's pirates is constantly growing, and the number of gods and gifters inside has been increasing. The promotion of gods is more exciting for the internal members than the new year. At the wedding, these people were just joining in the fun, and now this increase in strength makes them more excited. But this time is different from the past, because the beast's pirates have changed the host, a member of the beast's fruit editing department and dubbing department, who is also a host and a singer. Tesoro will appear in the beast's pirates several times a year. This time is also to help the development of its artists and let and adapt to the big scene in advance. Before, she only performed in some villages. Although her talent is not bad, she is a little stage fright. Although the number of people on Onigashima is only slightly more, there is a special aura here. If you can adapt to the environment here, most of the scenes will not be a problem for an. So at Tesoro's request, the beast's pirates temporarily changed the host of the show. TSK, how can that little girl be as good as me? Wait, she will definitely mess up this ceremony. Quinn below was very unhappy about this. In the past, he had always been the host of the internal celebration of the beasts. This time, he was a little unhappy about the change of people. Hey, you guys, isn't my dance beautiful? Quinn asked the few brothers in front of him, and he got a series of flattery. Yes, brother Quinn's dance is the best. Similar answers can be found everywhere. Under correct circumstances, they should step on one and praise the other, but no one dared to say bad things about Kaido or Arceus here. At most, they would say a few bad things about Tesoro to satisfy Quinn's heart. However, everything changed with the appearance of the new host. The hair is a gradient green, with two bangs hanging down from both sides of the cheeks. The hair at the back is slightly permed and combed into two hair groups. There are also some freckles on the face. The appearance is not particularly outstanding, but it is also considered to be above average. After all, there are very few women who are impeccable in all aspects, and an is rare. Compared with Quinn, a fat otaku, these pirates certainly prefer young female hosts. Hello everyone, I'm today's hostin. This is my first time hosting a show. Please bear with me. In the past, she mostly dubbed and recorded songs behind the scenes. This is also the main way for singers in the pirate world to do business. Without enough fame, holding a concert will only make you lose everything. There are not so many people in the small village, and they are not as enthusiastic as these pirates. It is her first time to host, and she is not particularly adapted to the pirate environment. It is inevitable that she is a little stage fright. Oh, no problem, don't worry, little sister, we will bear with it. Perform a show, don't just stand there. A series of shouts came from all around. Most of them were cheering her up, including the people who just echoed Quinn. You guys. Looking at the little brothers who rebelled in an instant, Quinn's forehead had a few more wrinkles. Have you never seen a woman before? How can this guy host a show like me? HMM. She didn't even have an opening dance. Just as Quinn finished speaking, 3 more cards appeared in his hand. Today is the first ceremony to confer the God's Grace. Under the glory of Lord Arceus, we will have 3 new God's Grace today. She was also a professional. Although she was a little nervous at the beginning, she quickly adapted to this environment. Although her heart beat faster, she had no problem speaking normally. According to the script she had memorized in advance, everything was going well. 3 cards passed through her palm, and soon the phantoms of 3 Pokémon appeared in the field and moved vividly. This was the ability of her illusion fruit, but Pokémon were not creatures of this world, so the illusion fruit could only simulate the appearance of Pokémon. In the front was a black and blue lion, an electric type, Pokémon Ronchin cat, but it looked like a lion, no matter how you looked at it. Then there was a pink mantis, a grass type, flower sickle Pokémon Lanthana. The last one is a pink coral, water plus rock, coral Pokémon, sun coral. This is the ability that the 3 adults below will obtain. Now, please welcome the new God of Grace. Oh. Amid the cheers of the pirates around him, Quinn had a bad feeling. For some reason, he felt that he was going to be unemployed. Chapter 481, X-ray eyes and sunlight blades. The other party's ability in hosting completely crushed his own. At least this special effects production was where he couldn't compete. Although he could make some projection machines in advance, the gap was too big compared to the ability of the fruit ability. Hosting a show is his personal hobby. If he loses the qualification of hosting because of this, it will not be fun. How is it, brother Quinn? This girl is not bad. Tesoro came to Quinn without knowing when, still praising his ability. TSK, what's good about it? Did you bring her here to take my position? Just bring her here to adapt. Don't mind it, brother Quinn. She is not as experienced as you in this area. Give the newcomer some opportunities. Her stage will not be limited to Onigashima in the future. Tesoro has long understood this truth, so a few words made Quinn ignore this matter. After all, Quinn is not a professional artist. He just got stuck in a dead end for a while. Give you face. Let this little girl have a try. This can be regarded as a way for him to find a way out. The fact that he was replaced means that Arceus has agreed. Even if he had more courage, he would not dare to challenge Kaido or Arceus. He has not lived enough. He still has the ability to resist when others fight with him, but Kaido and Arceus can basically kill him in seconds. Next, please welcome the 3 gifters who have obtained abilities. After today, we will have 3 new God-blessed ones. The first one to come up is Francis Drake, the deputy of Lord Jin Fire Disaster. Then comes Lord Shaina's deputy, Delator Emmeline. Lord Mandafish's deputy, Drew Pammon. Drake, Emmeline, Pammon, they are the newly promoted God-blessed ones. The ceremony of granting abilities ended yesterday, and today is just a commendation ceremony as usual. The position of the phantom created by an is a position, among which Drake stands in the position of Ronchin Cat. The ability of Land Mantis belongs to Emmeline, and Pierman has obtained the ability of Sun Coral. This time, all 3 of them are given the ability to not be afraid of sea water, so all 3 of them have the ability to swim. The power of Lord Arceus is really fascinating. Drake looked at the flashing lightning in his hand and even smiled, and the scar on his face moved a few times, but she didn't care about the scar at all. She used to be the captain of a pirate group. Like Sasuke, she surrendered voluntarily because of her admiration for the power of the beasts. She advocated bravely moving forward, overcoming, plundering, and then prospering. She has no interest in saving money. Most of her property is distributed to her younger brothers. She is a very bold big sister in the eyes of her younger brothers. She likes the pleasure of spending money. The price is to hang out in the free cafeteria of the beasts every day, otherwise she will starve to death sooner or later. Then Drake's muscles squirmed, and the blue skin wrapped around the original limbs, and most of the body was covered with fluffy black fur. There is also a tail with a star at the end behind it, and the mane on its body is slightly shorter than that of an ordinary male lion. That is the difference between a female Ronchin cat. Although the name is cat, the Ronchin cat is similar to the cat boss, except that one looks like a leopard and the other looks more like a lion. However, the most special ability of the Ronchin cat is not in its body, but in its eyes. After entering the beast form, Drake's whites of the eyes turned blood red, and the pupils also turned yellow. As the electrical energy in her body gathered in her eyes, the wall in front of her gradually became illusory and finally disappeared. This is the perspective ability of the Ronchin cat. Wild Ronchin cats use this pair of eyes that can see through to capture prey, but perspective requires a lot of electrical energy, which is a considerable consumption of the physical strength of the ability user. This ability is really strong. Drake licked the corner of her mouth. Through the electric light in the corner of her eyes, it can be seen that what she is thinking about is not serious. Hey, Emmeline, we just got new abilities, let's have a fight. Emmeline's ranking is no 9, and Drake's is no 10. Single digits are the ultimate goal of most numbered people. Although 10 is also a very high ranking, it is not the first echelon after all. Although they are both just gifters, there are far more gifters than God's grace in the 100 beasts. The number of people who have increased in recent years is also the same. Most of them are gifters, rather than God's grace. There have been no large-scale battles in the past few years, and they have accumulated merits little by little. Okay, let's just start like this. Pearman, ladies first, you move aside first. Seeing this, Pearman wisely made way. Although he was also promoted to God's grace, his original ranking was outside the top 20, so he could not participate in the battle between Drake and Emmeline. As the host, Anne also discovered the following changes. This was different from the script she rehearsed, but as a host, she had to be able to adapt to changes. After a little panic, she quickly familiarized herself with the situation and announced the start of the position change battle in advance. Do you need more time to familiarize yourself with the ability? No, I've already been familiar with it since I got this ability from Lord Arceus yesterday. Don't blame me for not reminding you. This ability is quite suitable for me. Emmeline's ability is Blue Mantis, and her original skill is Leaf Blade. They are different paths, but the same goal. Blue Mantis's fighting style is extremely similar to Leaf Blade's. Although it is a grass type Pokemon, Blue Mantis is more like a combination of mantis and plants. The overall color is pink and white. Due to the bright colors and gorgeous posture, Blue Mantis has the title of the most gorgeous grass type Pokemon. The lines on the body are like petals, and some of the limbs are green. Like the mantis, Blue Mantis has a pair of huge red sickles at the end of its arms, a touch of white along the bottom edge of the sickle, and green claws at the front of the sickle. However, they are not composed of insect limbs, but very sharp petals and branches. It is very easy to judge the strength of the Blue Mantis. The brighter the color, the better the development of the Blue Mantis. At this time, Emmeline was already wrapped in pink, and her arms were already in an attacking posture. No 10 Drake challenges number 9 Emmeline. The position change battle begins now. Following Anne's command, Emmeline has already moved, and the sickle blades on her arms began to flash, and the power of sunlight was gradually absorbed into them. Sunlight Blade, like Sunflame, absorbs the power of sunlight. As the only Pokemon that can learn Sunlight Blade on its own, this is almost its signature skill. It's back. Chapter 480. To the most dangerous person is of course the audience. Although the arms are made of petals, the arms of the Orchid Mantis can absorb the power of sunlight. The high temperature sickle blade can easily melt even steel plates. Whether it is hunting or defense, it is its killer weapon. However, although the Sunlight Blade and the Sunlight Flame are both powerful, they have the same disadvantages. They need to be charged, and cannot kill people in the position changing battle. Other than that, everything is no different from actual combat. As the only remaining members of the same clan, Jin and Shaina have always had a good relationship. As their deputy, Emmeline also knows who Drake is. Now she looks very humble, and will never hold back when she starts fighting. So Emmeline chose to attack. After crossing her arms, a whirlwind appeared around her body, and a lot of pink petals also emerged. Under her control, a large number of petals were scattered around with the whirlwind. The falling petals will attack all enemies around like flying snow. At the same time, the wind pressure can also affect the opponent's actions. The sharp petals can also block the opponent's vision while attacking. After Emmeline just used this skill, a burst of curses rang out around. Hey, watch out. We are the audience. Is it okay to attack on such a large scale? This is when they are most unbridled. The people above are busy with their own battles and don't care who is protesting below. Similarly, no one cares about their safety. It can be seen that most of the front row of the audience seats is vacant. This is also a feature of the Beast's pirates. During the position change battle, you can sit anywhere you want. As long as you are brave enough, it's okay to sit next to Kaido. The risk is that Kaido may pat your shoulder or thigh when he is excited. Few people like to watch a game and end up in the hospital, so there are no ordinary members around Kaido. As for other positions, as long as you have the confidence to take on the aftermath of the battle, you can move forward. Emmeline's attack is an example. This large-scale attack even affects the audience in the front row. When the attack came, Tesoro flashed behind Quinn. At this time, hiding behind Quinn is much safer. Kaido is even more careless and lets the attack hit him. The others also had their own ways of defense. The most luxurious one was Yamato. Diancie directly propped up a diamond barrier to block all the flying petals outside. Moreover, because the transparency of diamonds was high enough, this barrier did not affect their continued watching of the battle. Zerora had a fine electric current defense. Although he and Setsuna were not afraid of this level of aftermath, he did not like the feeling of being attacked like Kaido. As for Perona, those attacks went directly through her body. At this time, her body was sleeping peacefully in the bear's arms. Only her spirit was watching the battle. This was also one of the sources of her staying up late. She could let her body rest first, and her soul would leave her body to do other things. People who had no ability could only choose to watch from a distance. If they did not even have this ability, they could only watch Rotom's live broadcast from a distance. However, that would be despised by the beasts. After all, it was a manifestation of cowardice. Emmeline, this little trick is useless. A burst of lightning burst out from Drake's body, and her eyes were filled with lightning. At this time, the content in her vision was completely different from that of ordinary people. Those petals gradually became transparent in her eyes, and the world turned grey and white. This was her ability of perspective. Although she could see through some things, she could not see the color. Some special things could not be seen through, such as the body of a creature. Since Shaina's mask was part of the body of the flame chicken, her perspective could not see through it, and because Jin's mask was mixed with some special Pokemon materials, she could not see through it either. But Emmeline's petals were no problem. Withstanding the damage caused by the petals and wind pressure, she roared in her throat and pounced on it like a lioness. Because after Emmeline released the falling petals, a ball of light appeared above her body. Anyone who looked at the ball of light above her head felt that something was wrong. Drake didn't want to wait for Emmeline to finish charging. The battle of the animal type could not get rid of claws and teeth, and the claws attached with lightning grabbed Emmeline one after another. Her fighting style was not as elegant as that of a blue mantis, but rather as wild and crazy as that of a Ronchin cat. However, most of the electric current attached to her claws was resisted by the properties of the blue mantis, and most of the damage was caused by pure brute force. After Emmeline took several consecutive claws, the sunlight ball above her began to gradually merge into her body, and the mantis-like arm was also wrapped in light. You've almost had enough. Emmeline crossed her arms and swung at Drake, but was dodged by an iron bridge. A few strands of hair fell, and the smell of burnt hair reached Drake's nose. The charged sunlight blade had not yet ended. Although Drake dodged the first round of attacks, Emmeline soon turned the sickle blade, and the huge light blade slashed at her in an X shape. Boom. A huge X shape appeared on the field, and a charred wound appeared on Drake's thigh. You want to kill me, right? Because I owe you 20 million Baileys? What a joke. Who can I ask to pay back if I kill you? You can definitely take it. You'll just have to lie down for half a month at most. TSK, I think you just want revenge. I won't pay you interest if you do that. I didn't expect you to pay, and you stole my limited edition cosmetics. After a brief exchange, they fought again, and the scars on their bodies continued to increase. They are all good young people. Yamato, watch out. You have to be much stronger than them. Kaido is still instilling the idea of strength in Yamato, and she is not the only one who has been educated. Although internal celebrations such as weddings will not invite people from the Kazuki family, every large-scale replacement battle will be attended by Kazuki Hiyori. Although this attendance has some coercive meaning. General Hiyori, don't you think these battles are exciting? The stronger the Kadas are, the safer Wano country will be. Jin next to him was speaking the objective facts in his eyes. The stronger the beasts are, the safer Wano country will be. There is nothing wrong with this sentence itself, but it is different when it is directed at the Kazuki family. It is the Wano country of the beasts that is safe, not the Wano country of Kazuki. This sentence is nothing short of the biggest sarcasm for Kazuki Hiyori, and she is powerless to refute anything. Both she and her remaining retainers understand that this is a regular military deterrence of the beasts. Chapter 483 The consensus reached by the brother protecting demon. Being your own mascot honestly, you will have everything, including wealth and glory. If you dare to make trouble, the weapons of these Kadas can turn from guardians to enemies at any time. Although Hiyori inherited the blood of Kazuki Oden, she did not inherit his physique and eyesight at all. She could not understand the following battle situation, and could only sigh that he was so strong and so powerful. However, Kikunojo and Injiro are different. They have a clearer understanding of strength. A few years ago, they only knew that Kaido was an unmatched monster and the three calamities were all powerful Kadas. In recent years, they have watched the monsters of the beasts pirates increase, and the number of Kadas is gradually increasing. The most important thing is that the children born in these years are much more familiar with the beasts pirates than the Kazuki family. They may not know Kazuki, but they know the beasts. Food, clothing, housing, transportation, and everything in Wano country are closely related to the beasts, especially the preferential treatment of mothers by the beasts Pokemon Center. Giving birth has always been a hurdle. Everyone has their own family. Advanced medical technology reduces the consequences of dystocia. For the sake of their own family, even if the older generation is a bit old-fashioned, their children will still choose to go to the hospital. This is a subtle influence, and the goal of the beasts is gradually being realized. For young people, the generals of the Kazuki family are high-ranking figures who only appear during festivals, and they are not as affected by Pokemon as they are by Pokemon. Conservative families have people who have this concept, not to mention the local families of Wano country like Kintaro's family who have already lived with Pokemon. What makes them most helpless is still the classroom. In history class, they will talk about Kazuki Oden and tell the truth about what Oden did. They can't refute it, even if they want to, because those stupid things were done by Kazuki Oden. The teacher assigned by the beasts did not deliberately discredit him, because there was no need. The foolish prince who is a little kind, but brainless is their definition of Kazuki Oden, and most people have accepted this result. While Jin was showing off his power to them, the battle between Emmeline and Drake also came to an end. Emmeline won with her attribute advantage, but her actual combat experience was indeed much richer than Drake's. Compared with Drake's berserker, her battle was more rational. When Drake's initial attack failed to achieve results, she had basically lost. The ring was not friendly to her berserker. After all, these fighting madmen are best at exchanging injuries for lives, which will affect their performance in the position-changing battle with limited kills. The game is over. Miss Emmeline defended her position. Let us congratulate the winner. Anne, who hosted this kind of event for the first time, felt a little excited. These battles were much more exciting than ordinary activities. This was also her nature. Otherwise, she would not have developed into a person who specialized in hosting pirate activities in the original timeline. Not having a way is only one aspect. If you can't accept it, there is no way. Although she is a little stage fright now, she is just not used to it. Emmeline pulled Drake up and then threw her a few bottles of unpackaged medicine. The wound medicine specially, provided by the internal Kadas of the beasts, was used only in major battles in the past, but the position-changing battle was an exception. They usually had to go through more than one battle. In order to reduce the length of the battle, today's medicine was supplied in unlimited quantities. The battle between Emmeline and Drake was not the end, but a beginning. Whether those who wanted to go further or those who wanted to defend their positions, they had already taken action. Zerora, I'll leave for a while. I guess they are going to be restless again. Usually, there weren't many people who challenged her, but when it came to the annual position changing battle, most people would become very restless. There were no traces of numbers on her body, but if you looked closely at her nails, you could see the pattern of the number 1 on them. This was based on personal habits. Some people liked to be high profile, while others didn't like to attract attention. DeVego wrote the number directly on his face, fearing that others would not see it, and Setsuna used this number to make a nail polish. If you didn't look closely, you couldn't see the position of the number. Moreover, Setsuna usually doesn't face many challenges. Most people won't challenge the first place rashly. The 10th place usually faces the most challenges. But this time is different. Setsuna welcomes an old acquaintance. Mandafesh, didn't you say before that the 3rd place is enough? That was before. In fact, I'm also preparing to get married. I have to work harder for the future, right? That makes sense, but I won't let you go, otherwise it will be embarrassing for Zerora. Mandafesh and Setsuna walked out. As challengers, they have the qualifications to occupy the home court. As water type Pokemon users, the place with water is their home court, so Mandafesh fights in the ocean venue. Similar challenges also occurred in other places, such as number 4 Babanuki challenged number 2 Elizabeth. Although it was just a simple position changing battle, there were many troubles. For example, due to the attribute restraint between the gods, there would occasionally be closed loops in the arena. That is to say, the second one cannot beat the first one, and the third one cannot beat the second one, but can beat the first one. When this happens, a round-robin battle of endurance competition will be launched to see who can't hold on and leave the field first. However, this kind of thing is still rare at present. Geodude and Giant Rock are repairing the venue that Emmeline damaged. Although there is more than one venue, there is always a queue. At this time, Ulti also pulled page 1 to start signing up, intending to challenge from the last numbered person. They also have the qualifications to participate in the battle. Although they are still children, their abilities are not a joke. Most of the people ranked at the bottom are gifters. They may not be the opponents of Ulti and page 1 now. And most of the elders and the beasts have also accepted the cognition that children are monsters. They can't awaken the Conqueror's Haki at the age of 8 and fight Kaido for 3 days and 3 nights in their teens. But some people don't know that there is no privilege in the position changing battle. Whoever signs up first will come first. Although many people stayed up late yesterday, Ulti and page 1 lived on Onigashima, so they could sign up directly after getting up. Sasuke, who lives in the Rabbit Bowl Quarry, is different, so when he saw page 1 and Ulti in front of him, he was a little unhappy. Go home and play house, little brat. It's too early for little guys like you to stand next to big brother Kaido. How about saving some time for adults? Before Ulti could scold him, a big hand suddenly placed on Sasuke's shoulder, and Jack's dull voice sounded from behind him. Who are you talking about as a little guy? Chapter 484 No Zero. Strictly speaking, Jack is also a minor, but he has developed well. Page 1 and Ulti are just normal human bodies, so there is no possibility of comparison with Sasuke, who is in his early 20s. But Jack is different. Although he is not yet 15 years old, he has reached puberty and is developing rapidly. His height has now reached 6.6 meters. Sasuke, who is just over 3 meters tall, is a real little guy in front of Jack. Quarrels are very common in the Beast's pirates. Even fighting is nothing strange. This kind of verbal abuse is nothing. But Jack admits that he is a bit double standard. If Sasuke talks about others, he won't care. If he talks about Ulti, he won't care, but page 1 can't. That is his most valued little brother, the kind who never forgets to bring gifts when going out. In the original timeline, he was able to become one of the 3 disasters at the age of 28. Although he looks silly and does silly things, his strength cannot be denied. Among the young people in the Beast's pirates, his talent is only inferior to Yamato, and his endurance is even more unmatched. In the fiercer competition of the Beast's pirates, you can't get to that position without strength. Although he is still many years away from turning 28, He has acquired abilities in advance, and the abilities of the King Bronze Elephant are stronger than the Mammoth. He has also trained on Fishman Island for a year. Although he is still a certain distance away from the peak, he is stronger than most pirates. His future will definitely be stronger, and the change in his state of mind will also lead to the increase in strength. He will only be stronger in the future than he was in the original time. Although he is still growing now, the same is true for Sasuke. The pressure from that big hand is something he can't bear. When he was a pirate captain, he was also known for his strength, but it was different when facing Jack, who was born as a fishman. If you join here, you must abide by the rules here, and line up honestly. This is the order within the Beast's Pirates, a special order formed by absolute strength. These pirates may be quarreling, but absolutely no one dares to take action, or cut in line. This is the influence of the residual rules. It was rare for Ulti to find Jack, this pervert, somewhat pleasing to the eye. Her method of judging a person was very simple. Those who were close to page 1, but did not compete with her for page 1 were good people. Jack's previous perverted behavior made her very resistant to him, but now they were slightly united. After all, the foreign enemy had appeared. Since he would challenge the position soon, Sasuke did not continue to talk, but snorted coldly and stood back. Fierce battles were also unfolding in different venues. For example, on the battlefield by the sea, Setsuna and Mandafesh fought extremely fiercely. One of them wanted to pursue a higher status for his future wife, and the other did not want his husband to lose face. It can be said that they had tried their best. Wenched 10 consecutive stars. The Wava Guide power formed the bowstring and the arrow at the same time, and the arrow formed by the Wava Guide power also carried the static electricity generated by her fur. The lightning power between the 10 Wava Guide arrows was still attracting each other, and finally formed a lightning net, and flew towards Mandafesh. Mandafesh, who was standing on the water, twitched his tail in the sea, and a large amount of sea water pressed towards the Wava Guide arrows in the sky. Because the arrows were made of Wava Guide power, they had a certain tracking ability. Although they would not chase him to the ends of the earth, they could not get rid of him in a short time. Raiden had a strong restraint on Mandafesh, and he did not want to taste what those arrows tasted like. Raising the waves was also to create his own home court. Their battle was very three-dimensional. Both Gyarados and Setsuna, who had electromagnetic levitation, had the ability to fly, but Mandafesh had an extra underwater. But this was a ring match, not a free fight, and he could not stay in the water all the time. And he might be killed by Setsuna. The water here was just a shallow beach, not a deep sea, and it was not enough to offset the power of Setsuna's arrows. If he wanted to win, he had to find a way to get close to the opponent. With the cover of the waves and the jet of flames, he successfully reached Setsuna's side. This distance was no longer suitable for archers to draw their bows, so he experienced what close combat for archers was. Although some skills do not have slates, they can be self-learned as some Pokemon users improve their abilities. Setsuna used a special bow to perform bone club attacks. Ground type skills are not absolutely ineffective against flying type skills like in the game, but it is difficult to hit them. The cliff sword can poke birds down, and bone club attacks can naturally hit the target. Even if they can fly, they will still be hurt by earthquakes if they are pressed to the ground. This is the difference between ground type skills and those in the game. Mandafesh used his domineering power to withstand Setsuna's attack and approached her, and his tail wrapped in water also entangled the opponent. You can't use electricity now. The Fur tribe can use electric shocks, but they are not immune to lightning attacks. When they are wet, the Fur tribe will also be subject to certain restrictions. Then Mandafesh wanted to press Setsuna into the water below. If he succeeded, the opponent's Moon Lion's trump card would most likely become unusable. Mandafesh succeeded, but only half of the time. Although he brought Setsuna into the water, Setsuna did not use Moon Lion, but entered another state, Mega State. There are some differences between the minks and humans. Because they have the genes of wild beasts in their bodies, they can integrate the abilities of Pokemon more comprehensively than human ability users. When they got married, Arceus gave her the ability of Mega. In the following time, she also successfully mastered this power, and became the second person in the Beast's Pirates to master Mega Evolution. The huge wave power pushed Mandafesh's tail away, and Setsuna floated in the sky again. There were several special braids behind her head, and several steel thorns on her body. After Mega Evolution, the fighting blood in her body has been completely awakened. The static electricity on the surface of the body began to flow slightly, and quickly dried the hair on the surface of the body. As if she felt that she had lost face, Setsuna had an extra moonstone in her hand, and the hair on her body became more fluffy. She also successfully used the Minx trump card, Moon Lion. Seeing Setsuna superimpose the power of Mega Evolution and Moon Lion, Mandafesh suddenly panicked, but thinking about Rusoka, he did not choose to admit defeat, but chose to take the initiative. However, facing an opponent who was already in full state, he was no match for him, because he had not yet mastered the ability of Mega Evolution, and was quickly defeated. However, his battle was exciting enough that even Kaido noticed this. Mandafesh is a good guy, but unfortunately, the opponent is too strong. It just so happens that the number 0 position has been vacant. Let Setsuna fill the number 0 position, and Mandafesh will take over the number 1 position. Chapter 485. The dust has settled on the replacement battle. The pirate flag is only useful to smart people. Arceus and Kaido could see that Mandafesh had tried his best. He had done his best in terms of combat thinking, skills, bravery, and perseverance. But he met Setsuna. He was not the only one protecting his wife. Zerora was also there. As the eldest son of Arceus and the wife of the eldest son who was very favored, Setsuna had received a lot. Kaido's training, Lucario's blessing, and Mega Evolution and Moon Lion, 2 powerful weapons. Her succession to the throne meant that Yang Khan had recognized her strength. The blessing brought by the Moon Lion of the Fur tribe at this level was very terrifying. Not to mention that Setsuna was a double superposition. If Mandafesh could beat Setsuna in this state, then the 3 disasters should have an additional seat. And his luck was also very bad. The talent of the Fur tribe was a restraint for him, but luck was also part of his strength. Mandafesh's good luck and bad luck always appeared alternately, perfectly practicing the law of conservation of luck. As Kaido said, it was not that Mandafesh was weak, but that Setsuna was too strong. When the numberer proposed it, it was the 101st number from 0 to 100, among which the 0th seat was the most special, and this position meant a powerful strength comparable to the 3 calamities. So it had been vacant before, but now Setsuna's performance was enough to take on the number 0, and her explosive power was very impressive under the blessing of the double buff. And Mandafesh's strength was also not weak, so he naturally made some subtle changes. The battles in other venues were still going on. Emmeline and Drake were continuing to move forward. Even Paimon, who had obtained new abilities, began to challenge upward. Although the sun coral was not as good as the Ronchin cat and the blue mantis flower, the composite properties of water and rock were also good. The extra coral thorns on his body also made his rolling more powerful, and it was slowly rising little by little. Headshot. As an iron-headed child, Ulti liked to use her head to hit people, even if she was now a double axe war dragon. Even the sharp axe teeth made her headshot more powerful. Meanwhile, Page 1 in the field next to him also emerged from the ground. The Garchomp transformed from the Spinosaurus is also a dominant Pokémon, and its huge body makes up for its age disadvantage. For Garchomp, there is no difference between land and sea water. He can swim freely in it. The huge shark that emerged from the ground also successfully caused considerable damage to the enemy. At the same time, Sasuke also defeated an opponent, but before he could continue to challenge upwards, he met his challenger Jack. As a brother protecting demon-like Ulti, Jack decided to use his strength to tell the other party not to look down on children casually, especially the people he protects. Boom. Boom. Bang. The sound of metal colliding continued to ring, and the metal bodies of the King Bronze Elephant and the City Guard Dragon collided fiercely. There were no various skills in the battle between Setsuna and Mandafesh, nor the flexibility in the battle between Drake and Emmeline. There was only a fist-to-flesh fight. Facing Sasuke's attack, Jack didn't even dodge, but chose to take it head-on. This kind of fighting is the most effective way to defeat a person. However, he dared to do so because he was confident in his physique. It would not be wise for Sasuke to learn from him. Although the defense of the castle dragon is very high, his defense is external after all. Blunt attacks will still have an impact on the body, not to mention that Jack is a fishman. The two of them fought for countless punches, and Sasaki began to breathe heavily. At this time, Jack also decided to give him the last blow. Fishman karate, Samuel Zenquin. The fishmen are not weak, or their ancestors are not weak. Only when the armed color domineering is cultivated to a high level can internal destruction be achieved, but the basis of fishman karate is to vibrate the water in the enemy's body to cause higher damage. It can be said that fishman karate can cause greater damage more easily, but most people have not practiced it to the home, just relying on brute force to fight hard. Even if the fishmen are more powerful, it is also a waste of fishman karate. This punch hit the face, and the defense of the facial bones of the castle dragon did not play much role in front of the fishman karate. Sasaki, who had just obtained a position, fainted directly. After 2 full days of fighting, this position change battle came to an end. This position change battle can be said to be a big reshuffle. Except for the previous part, there was not much change. Many powerful newcomers occupied higher seats. No Zero Setsuna Lucario, no 1 Manda Fish Gyarados, no 2 Elizabeth Thousand Faces Chameleon, no 3 Babanuki Leave King, no 4D La Torre Emeline Land Mantis, no 5 Francis Drake Ronchin Cat, no 6 Devego Armored Warrior. No 7 Hold'em Perot, no 8 Scourge Magnemite, no 9 Drew Pillman Sun Coral. No one was dissatisfied, because this kind of battle was relatively fair. Although some people felt that they would not lose to them if they had the ability, it was because they did not have enough achievements. Beasts never covet the merits of meritorious people, so some losers apply to be transferred from Onigashima to find opportunities to fight outside to gain higher merits. Page 1 and Ulti also obtained a certain seat at the end and kept it in the subsequent challenges. Jack is not interested in this for the time being. If Sasaki had not spoken rudely to Page 1, he might not have participated in the competition. He plans to challenge them again in a few years, to avoid delaying his training due to trivial matters. Therefore, after defeating Sasaki, he did not continue to challenge the people in front. Mariah's idea is similar to Jack's, and Sasaki could have obtained a higher position. However, because the battle with Jack consumed too much physical strength, the wound medicine provided would only heal the wound, not restore physical strength. Otherwise it would not be possible to test endurance. Even if he challenged again after waking up, he was somewhat powerless and did not obtain a higher position, but only appeared at the end. The ranking of some people has also achieved the master of reverse attributes. The attributes will affect the results, but not all. If the gap in their own strength is too large, it is difficult to defeat the opponent even with the blessing of attributes. Among them, Devego, Hold'em and Scourge fell into a closed loop of internal fighting. Hold'em couldn't beat Devego couldn't beat Scourge, and Scourge couldn't beat Hold'em. However, in the final endurance battle, Devego successfully won. Scourge's body was not flexible enough because he was a cyborg, and Quinn, who transformed him, was not as attentive as when he transformed himself, which eventually led to this ranking. With the end of the internal battle of the beasts, the cadre stationed outside also began to return to their bases, and overseas, the beasts' pirates were still in action. On an island in the North Sea, Doflamingo's face became very ugly because in front of him was sitting Nico Robin, and it was Nico Robin with the flag on her shoulder exposed. The flag of the Emperor of the Sea has a certain deterrent effect. At least for smart people, this flag is very effective. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 486, Industry Competition in Bihei. Time went forward for a while. Nicole Robin's private activities continued. After infiltrating certain organizations, she followed their action targets to improve her plans. However, the ruins were not everywhere, and sometimes she would waste some time doing useless work. Although O'Hara summarized some information about the ruins, those information were records left many years ago. With the passage of time, everything on the sea was changing, and those information were not 100% effective. Sometimes it could only provide a general clue, and she had to explore the specific things in person. For historians like them, history explores information, but these people generally do not have enough funds to form an expedition team, and those who have the capital to form an expedition team are not very interested in history. What they want is the added value. From ancient weapons to ordinary treasures, those are what they need, and some antiques taken from the ruins are also very valuable. Robin came to the North Sea because there was a well-known antiquities dealer here who had a lot of things taken out of the ruins. According to the information she got from the previous organization, there was a vase in it that might record clues about a ruin. The organization was originally planning to rob this person, but an accident occurred halfway. As for why the organization had an accident, it was unfortunately reported by other legal companies during its activities, and was later eliminated by the Navy. As for which legal company was so kind-hearted, it didn't matter. Then Robin mixed into the organization, and became a secretary. It took a while to successfully sneak into this person's house, but there was more than one person who was eyeing him. At this time, the Don Quixote family, which was also active in the North Sea, also targeted this cultural relic dealer. The forces in the North Sea are much more complicated than the other three oceans. Now the Don Quixote family and the Vinsmoke family are the most active in the underground world of the North Sea. The Don Quixote family is a force that has only begun to rise in the North Sea in recent years under the leadership of Doflamingo. Assassination, smuggling, mercenaries, as long as the price is right, they will do anything. Of course, the resale of devil fruits is also their main business. Doflamingo knows some secrets that ordinary people don't know, so he has some special channels. The Vinsmoke family is the local tyrant of the North Sea, a famous killer clan in the underground world of the North Sea, and also the royal family of the Germa Kingdom. The Vinsmoke family is a royal family, and once controlled the entire North Sea for 66 days by force, so it is also called Germa 66. However, they have no territory, and a huge snail carries a house-like building blocks on the sea, and even has the qualifications to participate in the World Conference. The Vinsmoke family has a long history of nearly 300 years. The peak period was naturally the days when they dominated the North Sea by force, but it was the world government that stopped them. Later, Mads was disbanded, and Judge returned here with new technology, and even killed the four kings of the North Sea, which can be regarded as reshaping the reputation of Germa. The Warrior of the Sea, the Sky. This set of comics also began to circulate in the North Sea after that. As killers, the two families naturally have certain conflicts. Vinsmoke has his own foundation, but Doflamingo is different. He needs to accumulate his own funds through other businesses. Doflamingo only wants funds, so that he can be more prepared when he enters the Grand Line in the future. The current Don Quixote family is all those he regards as future carders, and there are not even many cannon fodder brothers. It is similar to Kaido's original idea. In his opinion, ordinary people in the Four Seas are not even enough to be cannon fodder. Even if they want to be miscellaneous soldiers, they must have some qualifications. As a former celestial dragon, Doflamingo looks down on the North Sea, and his goal is also very clear, to seek the country of his ancestors. After all, most of the powerful people in this world are in the Grand Line. The goal of pirates all over the world is to move forward to the Grand Line at the beginning. Most of those who do not go to the Grand Line, but stay in the Four Seas are trash. Even if Moria and Crocodile were beaten and lost their spirit, they just withdrew from the New World and stayed in the first half of the Grand Line. This is the case with the cultural relic dealer lurking by Robin at this time. He was targeted by the Don Quixote family. It took Robin some time to gain the trust of that person. When he was observing where the secret room was in the room, a series of gunshots rang out outside the room. Those seemingly mighty bodyguards fell one after another, and then a group of people rushed in. The bodyguards in the room had just taken out the pistols in their arms when the bullets were already fired at them. Bang, bang, bang. The left leg of Baby 5, who was in the lead, turned into a flintlock, an unscientific flintlock that could fire continuously. As a user of the weapon fruit, she could transform her body into various weapons. Following behind her were Buffalo and Luo. This was the Don Quixote family's trial of children. Except for the very young half-fish Mandarina, their hands were already stained with blood. Luo also had a lot of white spots on his face. Although the medicine of the 100 beasts was good for the body, it was only a health medicine after all. The platinum lead disease was still slowly developing in his body. The battle didn't last long. These bodyguards were good at dealing with ordinary people, but they were not good enough to deal with these people trained by the Don Quixote family. Soon, they fell in a pool of blood one by one, leaving only the bald antiquities dealer in the middle and a few servants. Those servants didn't want to run, but they didn't know what to do when they were pointed at by guns. Robin just touched the head of the tearful lizard to tell it not to be afraid. Due to its personality, the tearful lizard was far less calm than the thousand-faced chameleon. If it cried out of fear, it would be the biggest trouble for Robin. Who are you, and what do you want? Being able to run a smuggling business, the man had experienced some storms. Although he was pointed at his head with a gun, he was not too panicked. The treasure you hid. Luo simply stated his request, and then shot the butler next to him. You'd better cooperate, otherwise this will be your end. At this time, Luo's inner goal was to drag everyone to be buried together, and he didn't care about the life of a passerby at all. Under the threat of death, the antiquities dealer quickly revealed where his things were hidden, but he was not released, but shot through the head. This was Doflamingo's order, but just as they were about to continue to kill him, several arms suddenly appeared on his body. 30 Wheel Flower Hook Claw. Chapter 487. Mingjian in front of Kaido is just a Ming brother. When she first went to sea a year ago, she would still hesitate to do some things, but as she went undercover in various organizations, she learned more and more about the outside world, and became more and more decisive. This is also the reason why she spent most of her time undercover in illegal organizations, so that she would be more decisive when she took action, and would not hesitate at all. From the actions of those children just now, it can be seen that they are definitely not good people. Her training on Onigashima is different from that of Yamato and the others. She did not get beaten up like a devil every day, but just kept strengthening her body. She spent more time learning other things in different places, so she only knew a little bit of armed color. However, she also learned other things from others. That is, she learned more about the structure of the human body from Nakin, and had a deeper understanding of joint skills. At the same time, she also had a certain understanding of the acupuncture points and blood vessels and meridians of the human body. This is a big problem in the world of pirates, because there are too many strange body shapes. Not to mention the long-legged tribe and the long-handed tribe with many joints. Even ordinary people have all kinds of strange structures. It is very difficult to match the conventional acupuncture points with cone-shaped heads, drill-shaped noses, carrot-shaped bodies, short legs, etc. Even Nakin had to try a little bit at a time, and it took many years to integrate it into her own physical skills. Although her Chinese medicine boxing is named after Chinese medicine, it is more about acupuncture. At the age of 80, she can fight with Hancock in his prime, after rejuvenating with secret medicine. She is also a carder on the walled ship. Nakin is also considered a strong man among pirates. What she learned from her allows Robin to find the fatal weakness more accurately when attacking the enemy, and use the fragility of joints and nerves to complete her smash, instead of using brute force to break the enemy's bones. Nakin has a high opinion of Robin's learning talent. If it is a fixed target and the opponent's body is not deformed, then she can probably stab the opponent more than a dozen times without touching the vital points. Luo and the others all had 10 extra arms on their bodies. The arm strength derived from Robin's ability came from her own body's strength. After more detailed training, her physique had also improved. She was planning to break their spines and cervical vertebrae while hugging them. The antiquities dealer had already told her the location of some things, and she was planning to reap the benefits now. However, when she was about to take action, a sense of crisis suddenly emerged in her heart, and she quickly removed her ability, but there were still a few more blood marks on her arms. This was the weakness of her ability. If the derived limbs were injured, the body would also be injured. What hurt her ability were the thin silk threads, one of which was still hung with blood beads. Hey, isn't this the Black Widow who has been famous recently? How could you, a poisonous spider, appear in a place like this? At this time, the French window on the second floor had been opened, and Doflamingo was squatting there carelessly, twisting his fingers on the silk thread he had just attacked. Doflamingo is still quite concerned about his cards, provided that the person is valuable and does not hinder him, otherwise he will kill the other person, even if he is a blood relative. His younger brother Osinant commented on him as a natural villain. Baby 5 and the others are all Carter's reserve of the Don Quixote family. This is a test for them, but other adult Carters also follow behind them. Originally, Doflamingo did not intend to show up, but the appearance of Robin disrupted his plan. His eyes have always been on the place where monsters gather in the New World. Although he is in the North Sea, Doflamingo has been in contact with the forces of the Grand Line. Nico Robin has also been a little famous in the underground world recently. Every organization has been almost wiped out by her, but she has always been able to retreat unscathed. At first, some people thought that she was lucky, or that the person who recruited her was unlucky, so she gave her such a nickname. In Doflamingo's opinion, this nickname is also very suitable, but he does not believe that it is luck. It is okay once or twice, but Robin took a year to destroy 4.5 organizations. She is clearly the weaver behind the scenes. Those self-righteous people are just insects that fall into her net. Don Quixote Doflamingo. Hey, Miss Robin actually knows me? It's really rare. So have you considered joining me? He values Robin's ability very much. Her ability may help him a lot in his future actions. As for the crisis of trust, he feels that he is different from those idiots. Robin can't do anything in his hands. I'm sorry, I refuse this invitation. She had inquired about the information here when she came here. The Don Quixote family had just started to contact the underground world of the Grand Line, but the Beasts and Big Mom were both local snakes there, so Robin had some understanding of this person. The direction of his actions was completely contrary to hers, and this organization was not suitable for her. Oh, can I take it that you are going to give up your life? He didn't intend to let this kind of person go. If Robin refused, Doflamingo didn't intend to let her leave alive. Of course not, I'm just thinking about you. After all, you can't afford the consequences of this robbery. Robin pulled down the armband on his shoulder, and the devil horn skull was very conspicuous. Mr. Doflamingo, you should know this flag. If you can convince Mr. Kaido, I have no objection. Compared with smart people and fools, Robin would rather meet the former, because the flag of the beasts may not be effective for those brainless reckless people, and sometimes it will arouse their desire to challenge. But smart people with vision are different, such as Doflamingo, who has been developing his own underground world network. They will never take the risk to offend a sea emperor. And the fact is the same as Robin guessed. After seeing the flag, Doflamingo's face became obviously ugly. He was unwilling to bet whether the beasts knew the details here, and whether he would be retaliated if he did something. As a former celestial dragon, he has a clear understanding of the world's military power. Whether it is the Sea Emperor or the Admiral of the Navy, they are not enemies he can face. Otherwise he would not be chased by Crane everywhere. He would rather offend the Admiral than a pirate like Kaido. With the secrets in his hands, he is confident that the world government can stop the actions of the Navy. But pirates are different. Those lawless people act completely according to their own preferences. If he offends a monster like Kaido, he will die faster. Doflamingo retracted the released line with his fingers slightly retracted. However, looking at the flag on Robin's shoulder, Law beside him showed a different look. Chapter 488 Doflamingo is being backstabbed. Neither Doflamingo nor Law considered whether Robin was an imposter, because no one dared to impersonate the flag of the Emperor of the Sea. Those who don't know how powerful they are won't use the other party's flag, and those who know how powerful they are dare not use their flag. Moreover, there are too many ignorant rats on the sea. This time it's because Doflamingo is a smart man, and he knows how terrible Kaido is. If it were a native of the North Sea, Kaido's flag might not be as threatening as a person with a bounty of 20 million in the North Sea, so there is no one who pretends to be a subordinate of the Emperor of the Sea in the Fourth Seas. And just in case, even if Robin is a fake, he will treat it as the real one, so that he will not lose anything. Once he really touches Kaido's people, he probably won't be able to enter the new world in this life. The lone hero incident made all the ambitious people understand what the consequences of offending those monsters would be. Hey, say hello to Mr. Kaido for me. This treasure is for you. but it's okay for me to take my family with me, right? No, I just want a vase. As for saying hello, Mr. Kaido probably doesn't have the time. Robin stood up and walked towards the place where the antique dealer said he would store things, which also showed his attitude. Wait, you don't want animal type devil fruits either? The sunglasses blocked his eyes. Although Robin's appearance disrupted his actions, he was not angry because he knew that the child's behavior would not have any effect. Instead of sulking at a person who could not afford to offend, it is better to seize this opportunity. If he can get in touch with the beast's pirates, some things in the future will definitely be smoother. Animal type devil fruits have always been what the beast's pirates are looking for. As a devil fruit dealer in the North Sea, he also has a lot of devil fruits in his hands. This is the only opportunity he can think of. Call this number and someone will trade you something. Robin was also on a mission to search for something. When she went out, she would definitely not refuse a deal that came to her doorstep, so she casually gave Doflamingo a Dendenmushi number. Seeing Robin give him the contact information so straightforwardly, he was more convinced that the other party was from the beasts, otherwise he wouldn't be so happy. After all, based on the information that the beasts had revealed, no matter who traded them an animal type devil fruit, they would take it. If Robin kept shirking even this, then her identity was a little suspicious. Hey, Miss Robin, is there somewhere you want to go? I can still help a little in the North Sea. No, but ordinary fruits are not worth our special trip. Of course there won't be only one ordinary fruit, so I won't bother Miss Robin. Baby 5, Buffalo, LUO, let's go. Although the treasures here are not cheap, those things will not run away. He can just wait until Robin takes what she wants before collecting the rest. So he immediately took Baby 5 and the others away, but some people didn't cooperate with him. Wait, LUO, where are you going? Didn't you hear what the young master said? Except for Treble and others who first regarded him as the leader because of his domineering color, everyone else called him the young master, especially the children raised by the Don Quixote family. But for LUO, the people of the 100 Beasts are very important to him. Don't leave. What's going on with Sister Misu? I don't know what you're talking about. Looking at the white spots on Law's face, and the fact that he accurately said Misu's name, Robin naturally thought of the problem of platinumly disease. It seemed that this was also an orphan of Freven's. But she didn't explain the reason for this to the other party. Purchasing devil fruits is the usual style of the beasts. If Doflamingo can get the goods at hand, she can naturally give the contact information, but she won't expose other things because of this. Otherwise it will be putting the cart before the horse. Your medicine is simply fake. It's useless for platinumly disease. Before he finished speaking, Doflamingo suddenly appeared behind him and covered his mouth. Cutting off someone's wealth is like killing their parents. In Doflamingo's view, the pharmaceutical industry of the beast fruit is a big chess game. If Law continues to talk, he might anger the other party. Robin ignored him and left after getting her things. At this time, Nico Robin had already left here, and Doflamingo also threw a Law aside unceremoniously. Law, you seem to have forgotten something. His tone was not friendly, because even if he was a family Kada, he would not tolerate the other party interfering with his plan. Obviously, Law had just hindered his plan to a certain extent. Law, who made Doflamingo unhappy, was naturally taught a lesson by him, and then he went to contact the other party according to the phone number given by Robin. He really had the animal type fruit in his hand, and now he planned to seize this opportunity. And Law also revealed his real name in the conversation with Buffalo and Baby 5 afterwards. In his opinion, Robin ignored it because everything was fake, so he didn't have much life left, so there was no need to keep this secret, and all this happened to be heard by Rocinant. Although he is Doflamingo's younger brother, his current identity is a Navy undercover directly under the Sengoku. He was rude to the children of the family because he wanted to drive them away and keep them away from Doflamingo. After hearing that there was a D in Law's name, he had other thoughts. He didn't know what D meant, but he knew the saying of God's natural enemy. After a conversation, he and Law got to know each other better, and he also took Law to temporarily leave the Don Quixote family and embark on the road of seeking medical treatment. However, several phone calls were made from these people one after another. Descendby, it's me, Xiomego. Xiomego is the code name of Rocinant, and Descendbo is code name belongs to Sengoku. Rocinant, what's wrong? I have some personal matters to deal with. I hope to postpone the progress of the mission. In addition, Doflamingo seems to be in touch with Kaido. After that, for some reason, Doflamingo felt that Crane's pursuit of him became more intense, but he was not always caught by the other party like before. Virgo also successfully entered the Navy sequence and began to climb up, and on Onigashima, a series of actions were also being prepared. Quinn, this war support mission is yours, right? Chapter 489 Quinn Task Force. Looking at the schedule in front of him, Arceus asked Quinn calmly, but Quinn felt that the scene was a little subtle. Yes, Lord Arceus, is there any problem? What's the problem? A war in the East Sea Kingdom is at least a few months away from here. Are you taking this mission to collect their bodies? No one can predict the occurrence of war, especially in the world of pirates. Reputation is very important in the underground world. Now the beast pirates have a 100% mission completion rate. Most of the tasks are handled by Quinn. Not long ago, he took over the war aid application issued by the East Sea Kingdom of Kogia. Originally, this was not in the fixed task sequence, but Quinn looked at the price and didn't pay attention to the address and took the task directly. Well, I think they should be able to hold on for a while. Do you think a country that can hold on by itself will be so anxious to spend a lot of money to ask for help? The reason for asking for help is because they can't win. Arceus thinks that the kingdom of Kogia can hold on for 10 days and half a month, but according to the normal sailing speed, it will be just right to collect the bodies after 3 or 4 months. No, they don't even need to collect the bodies. It will take at least half a year for the large fleet to arrive. After all, the beast's pirates are not the Navy and cannot station troops all over the world. Now only the Navy and the world government can send reinforcement to any crisis at the fastest speed. The problem now is that Quinn has already taken on this job. If it is reported that the beasts cannot complete their next mission, then it will be embarrassing. Lord Arceus, I think we can send a flying squadron over there. As long as the top combat power arrives, there will be no problem. Very good advice. So Quinn, this mission is handed over to you. What? Shaina has already taken the fleet out. Jin has a mission in the country. Alga is now in the Sabaody archipelago. Zerora and Setsuna have returned to Zao, and Mandafesh is in Fishman Island. Do you want me to lead the team or Kaido to lead the team? Because it was a temporary mission that Quinn took, most of the other cadres did not have time to deal with it. Kaido and Arceus were temporarily free, but a country in the East China Sea was not worthy of Arceus or Kaido to take action personally. This is no longer a problem that Bailey can solve. Unless it is extremely valuable, they will never do such a thing. Quinn himself is also known as the Plague. Although his bounty has been rising again and again, neither Kaido nor Arceus intends to let him stay in Wano country forever. It was time to go out. He hadn't done anything else for several years, and his status in the eyes of ordinary members was declining. He just needed such an opportunity. What? Is your body too rusty to fight? Do you want me to ask Kaido to help you loosen up your muscles? No need to bother you. I'm ready to go. Listening to Arceus' words, Quinn immediately said that he was ready. This time, you take GT6 to GT10 to test the combat capabilities of the new machine. Genesect is the only mythical beast currently produced in large quantities. Now the machine number has reached 10, and there is no plan to continue to expand the number in the near future. Even if it is transformed from a robot, it is a considerable consumption. So after GT5, Arceus tried a new transformation method, which is to only transform part of Genesect. Genesect is a very special existence in Pokemon. They not only have the characteristics of insects, but also the characteristics of robots. The 5 Genesects from GT6 to GT10 are weaker than the previous 5, but they have another characteristic. As long as the head is still there, even if the body is destroyed, it will not die, because Arceus only modified that part, and the rest are special machines made of Arceus steel. However, these Genesects can still maintain their original speed, so they will be sent to follow Quinn to carry out the mission. 5. I understand. Lord Arceus, leave it to me. I will handle this matter. The enemy this time is an old acquaintance. The invaders are Germa 66, and the leader Vinsmoke judges Quinn's former teammate, but the relationship between the two is not so harmonious. With Quinn's estimation of his current strength, plus the 5 genesects, he is very confident about this operation. Take Yamato with you, let her experience this battle. Lord Arceus, are you sure you won't go with him this time? Listening to Arceus's arrangements, Quinn suddenly had a doubt. In theory, Arceus would never let Yamato be handed over to him, but Arceus had no intention of going with him, which seemed very strange. Of course not. She's grown up now. We can't always watch over her. Hurry up and prepare. You'd better pray that the kingdom of Korkia can hold on for a while. By the way, there's a deal in the North Sea. I'll go trade with them on the way back. Understood. I'll take care of it. Arceus didn't follow Yamato until he stood on Genesec's back and left with Quinn. This made Quinn feel very strange. Even Yamato was a little surprised, but she was still excited to go out and explore. But she kept looking around, as if looking for something. Uncle Quinn, is my godfather really not here? That's what Lord Arceus said. But Miss Yamato, let's discuss it. How about not calling me uncle? I'm not much older than Jin and Shaina. No, you look much older than them. Quinn felt like his heart was stabbed, but there was nothing he could do. Although he didn't have to call her Oni-sama like ordinary members, he couldn't force Yamato to change the address. Forget it. Miss Yamato, let me describe the details of this mission to you. This time we were invited by the Kingdom of Korgi to fight against the invaders. The invaders are Germa 66, and the leader, Vinsmoke Judge, is an old acquaintance of mine. He is not that strong, but he created a special combat suit through research on bloodline factors. You should have read the manga Warrior of the Sea. The abilities of the combat suits in it are real. Quinn began to tell the information he had, but it was not certain how much Yamato listened to. And Arceus, as he said, really did not follow this time, because he made another preparation. Chapter 490, just knock them away, right? The top of Fujiyama is still the mysterious space. The willpower of Reshiram and Zekrom is becoming more and more perfect. As long as the body is built, they can appear in this world. And they each have a trace of will in Yamato's body. Although the body has not yet been born, they can also descend temporarily with their gradually perfected power. Yamato, who has not yet been recognized, cannot use their power, but under the order of Arceus, they can act as guards. In other words, although Arceus did not follow, he left a double insurance in Yamato's body. Even if the burst of power does not last long, it is enough for Yamato to reach a safe place. Not long ago, Vinsmoke Judge made his own decision to attack the non-member country in the East China Sea, the Kingdom of Korkia. The current Germa Kingdom is still a special country with the qualifications to participate in the World Conference, so it is impossible for them to attack the member countries. They can only choose the non-member countries ignored by the world government. Even the Navy cannot directly cross the Red Earth continent, but will change ships at the port. But the Vinsmoke family was different. They crossed the Red Earth continent in 3 weeks. For those special snails, even vertical rock walls can be climbed, as if they were walking on flat ground. Although Korkia is located in the East China Sea, it is still a kingdom after all. It is not likely to be conquered in 2 or 3 days. However, judging from the current situation, their defeat is only a matter of time, because they are facing a group of fearless special legions. At the beginning, the main research topic of MADS was bloodline factors, and everyone has their own expertise in bloodline factors. Judge and his team cloned and transformed soldiers through research and use of the bloodline factors of several outstanding soldiers, making soldiers absolutely obedient and excellent flesh and blood machines. They are not afraid of life and death. They only know how to obey orders, and they do not need their parents to raise them with great difficulty. As long as there are enough nutrients, a qualified soldier can be cultivated in 5 years. There are different models according to different situations. Some cloned soldiers are faster, some cloned soldiers are stronger, and so on. Cloned soldiers have appeared as consumables since the day they appeared, even if those cloned soldiers themselves do not know that they are clones. Quinn led the team to test Genesect, and Judge's behavior was also to test his own clone army. General, the test is basically over. These clones are perfect warriors without fear of death, and will never betray. A doctor wearing glasses introduced the specific situation to Judge. In addition, Lord Ig, Lord Neji, Lord Yangji and Lord Ryuju all performed very well in this battle. Compared with ordinary clones, Judge also transformed his children. Ig, Neji and Yangji are all machines without fear. They have given up their emotions in exchange for a stronger body. Although Ryuju retains some emotions, she is also unable to refuse Judge's orders. His children are more like tools to him. The only one of his children, Sanji, was abandoned by him when he just arrived here. Judge asked him to leave here, to fend for himself on the grounds that he could not kill his son personally as a father. Launch a general attack and end this battle as soon as possible. Yes, Lord Commander. At the same time, facing the increasingly fierce attack of Gemal, the kingdom of Korkia began to lose its hold. The city gate was soon breached, and the kingdom's army had to retreat to the inner city. Reinforcement? Where are the reinforcement? Didn't those people agree? Why haven't they come yet? The king walked around anxiously, complaining constantly. Although he had heard about Judge killing 4 kings in the North Sea, he knew very well that with Judge's character, he might not survive even if he surrendered, so he issued a notice asking for help with a large sum of money. In the face of his questioning, no one answered him, because these ministers didn't know what to do. Time passed by little, and the king became more and more nervous. The rotating second hand seemed to him to be the countdown to his own death. However, when his psychological pressure was about to reach the limit, he finally got good news. The reinforcement finally came. Just looking at Quinn and Yamato, the king's expression did not relax. Where is the army? Are you the commander of the army? This is not your problem. Since we have accepted this task, we will handle it well. But can you settle the money first? Quinn held his cigar in his mouth and began to collect the debt. This is the rule of the beasts. You have to pay first and settle the money before you can be a customer. Otherwise, the fall of this kingdom has nothing to do with him. If the amount was not very tempting, Quinn would not have ignored the address and accepted this task. Then someone said a few words in the king's ear. After that, his eyes changed when he looked at Quinn. He happily took out the treasures of the treasury. In the process, Quinn vaguely heard something like 1 billion. Outside the royal city, Genesect had already rushed into the enemy camp and started his killing. On one side were emotionless replica soldiers, and on the other side were ruthless killing machines. The battlefield suddenly became a silent killing. Germa's replica soldiers fearlessly rushed towards Genesect, while Genesect was constantly waving its claws. The enlarged Genesect could blow away a large number of soldiers every time it swung its claws. At the same time, the light cannons behind him were also firing non-stop, which soon eased the tense situation here. What's going on? Where did those monsters come from? Judge put down the telescope in his hand, looking at the slaughtering Genesect with a solemn expression. He saw the number on Genesect's chest. The kingdom of Korgia definitely doesn't have such a thing, otherwise they would have sent it out long ago. Their appearance at this time means that a third party has intervened. At the same time, a slightly familiar voice appeared in his ears. Mahaha, Judge, you bastard, haven't you forgotten me? Yamato and Quinn did not participate in the battle against the replica soldiers. Quinn knew that those things had no emotions at all, and only the commander-in-chief could be dealt with, so he chose to use Genesect to deal with those miscellaneous soldiers, and he went to deal with Judge. Ms. Yamato, did you remember everything I said? Quinn asked Yamato before the battle began, but her answer made Quinn feel like something was stuck in his throat. I forgot, but it doesn't matter, as long as we beat those guys away, right? Right. At this point, he didn't have time to repeat the plan again. Anyway, there was nothing wrong with Yamato's words. As long as he defeated Judge, everything would be solved. Chapter 491. Don't ruin my reputation. Although he couldn't beat Shaina, Jin, or Zorora, and even when Setsun was in the burst state with full buffs, he was in trouble, not to mention Kaido and Arceus, but he didn't believe that he couldn't beat Judge. After all, the beatings over the years were not in vain. If you can't beat him, you have to find a way to resist. In order not to be beaten too badly, and to have more breathing time during Kaido's training, Quinn made unimaginable efforts. Quinn? Why are you here, you loser? Isn't the lesson I taught you enough? Lessons? Stop bragging, Judge, your war is doomed to fail. For the sake of our old acquaintance, if you surrender now, I will only let you mine for 50 years. How about it? Their relationship is not friendly. Even though they were both members of MADS, they often looked down on each other. Judge applied the technology of bloodline factors to equipment, while Quinn applied it to himself. This is their biggest difference, and also a divergence in research. They were both geniuses in their respective fields, so they naturally looked down on each other's technology. No one could convince the other, and their conflicts over trivial matters gradually accumulated, so it was normal for them to quarrel with each other. You are just a pirate. Where do you get the confidence to stop me? And when did you start to be keen on peace? While talking to Quinn, Judge also gestured to the soldiers around him, indicating that they should prepare some anti-aircraft weapons. As the commander-in-chief of Germa 66, Judge was the strongest fighter in the entire Germa 66. But he had no intention of taking action. Among all the people in MADS, Vegapunk and Caesar Clown were temporarily attached to the scientific forces of the world government, and Quinn joined the Beast's pirates. They all had people above them who could command them. But Judge was different. After returning to the North Sea, he picked up the foundation of the Vinsmoke family and ruled Germa 66 as the king of the Germa kingdom. He was not only the commander-in-chief, but also the king, and the king would not take action easily. Peace-loving? If you hadn't attacked here, do you think I would be here? Do you know how long it took me to get here? Quinn's sudden roar confused Judge. He still didn't understand what his attack on a non-member country had to do with him. This was the result of Quinn's selective amnesia. If he hadn't taken on the mission without looking at the address, he wouldn't have had to go through this. But he would never admit to Judge that it was his mistake, so he just threw the blame on him. Quinn didn't say anything else. A simple exchange of insults was considered a greeting to Judge. He knew very well that Judge would not choose to retreat just because of a few words from him, so he fired a large number of plant bullets at him. Although the seed machine gun was not the strongest in the skill set, it was the one Quinn used most easily. He also habitually used this trick to clean up the trash wall. Facing Quinn's attack, Judge didn't dodge, but spit out a word. He was not a capable person, and this so-called wall was actually a human wall. Several tall Gemel soldiers immediately stood in a row in front of him. If you look closely, you will find that these people look exactly the same. This is the purpose of Judge for cloned soldiers. Compared with the cheap dodge, he chose to use the lives of these artificial people to form a barrier. The penetration power of the seed machine gun is not strong, and the human body is the strongest barrier in the world of pirates. Those bullets did not penetrate them, but they also harvested the lives of a group of cyborgs. What do you think of the lives of your subordinates? This kind of thing is nothing to Quinn. He knows that they are clones. Even if they are not clones, he will not care. Although he is much more restrained now, he still does not care about the lives of ordinary people. He just won't attack indiscriminately. But Yamato is different. Although she has seen the cruelty of Frevens and the humanity of the Sabaody archipelago, it is the first time she has seen someone who disregards the lives of his subordinates and uses them as human shields. Quinn, is that your work? It's not a good thing to have too much emotion. You are a waste. You don't care about something that your work cares about. Yamato is now standing on Quinn's back. Based on Judge's understanding of Quinn, he will not accept this kind of thing. Although he doesn't know what kind of transformation Quinn has made to himself, so that he has the ability to fly, it is not in line with his character to let people step on him, unless that is also his work. Although everyone's technology is developed in different directions, they all come from the same source. It is not surprising that Quinn created a modified warrior. Moreover, Yamato is a mystery to the outside world. Before this incident, the outside world did not know that Kaido had such a daughter. She was hidden very well, so Judge had this misunderstanding. Judge's answer made Quinn sweat more on his forehead, and he quickly retorted, "Don't talk nonsense. I'm not a person who ignores the lives of my subordinates. Only scum like you will do such a thing." The future heir of the beasts is standing on his back. He knows very well what the consequences will be if the future boss is displeased. Sasaki is an example. Although Arceus doesn't care about him and Kaido is his idol, he doesn't dislike him, but he has offended many other cadres, otherwise he wouldn't have been bullied. At least now Yamato doesn't feel disgusted with him. It would be troublesome if Judge destroyed him. But what happened next proved that Quinn was overthinking. Their goal was to beat Judge away, and Judge's behavior made Yamato's sense of him plummet, so she just wanted to beat Judge away. Before Quinn landed, she had already jumped down with her own giant Thunderbagua. This height is not dangerous for her. Although there is no technological component in her body, she is also an alternative cyborg, a Superman specially transformed by Arceus power. In addition to the monster physique inherited from Kaido, she is much stronger than those perfect creations in Judge's mind. Taking advantage of the momentum of the fall, Thunderbagua aimed at Judge's head and hit him. Seeing the gradually approaching figure, Judge felt a serious sense of crisis in his heart, and his boots quickly sprayed a strong airflow to retreat. Although this attack did not hit Judge, it also left a big hole on the ground. However, Yamato then found a group of cyborg soldiers surrounding him. Is such a guy worth your life? However, no clone soldier paid attention to her. The biggest difference between these clone soldiers and robots is that they are more likely to die. They have no emotions at all. Chapter 492, Smart Quinn. No matter what Judge does, these clone soldiers will still obey his orders. This is also the reason why the Vinsmoke family is strong in the North Sea. Rather than a country, they are more like a manor owner. Except for scientific and technical personnel and some doctors, cooks, maids and the like, who are human, other citizens are such clones. As long as the plundered wealth is enough, they will have a steady stream of soldiers produced from the factory. Yamato, who tried to attack Judge, the commander-in-chief, is naturally their enemy. Even without Judge's order, these guards rushed up one after another. Looking at the big hole on the ground smashed by Yamato, Judge's expression became very ugly. No matter which child is better than the other, the toxic powder, spark red, electric blue, winch green, and invisible black are different combat suits he developed through bloodline factors. His wife was dissatisfied with Judge turning the child into a machine without emotions. She took drugs that affected the bloodline factor during pregnancy, causing Sanji to be a normal person, so there is no user of invisible black now, and none of the remaining children can do it. As the owner of Winch Green, Yangtze has been transformed into a robot. His body is almost mechanized. He can change the appearance of his limbs and possesses powerful strength. Even if his head is knocked crooked, he can use a hydraulic hammer to hammer it back, but he can't do it. Although there is a gap in age, as their father and creator, Judge knows where their upper limit is. Even if they reach Yamato's age, they can't surpass him. In his opinion, Yamato is not a pure person, but Quinn's work. This is what he can't accept. He can't accept that he was defeated by Quinn in the field he is good at. These scientists have a kind of paranoia. Since they can't surpass it, they will destroy it. Everyone attack, destroy the Horned Man. He found that Yamato seemed to pity those clones. In this case, let the clones consume the opponent's physical strength. Anyway, the next batch of soldiers have been trained almost, and he won't feel sorry for leaving all these soldiers here. So under Judge's order, the clone soldiers around him attacked Yamato in groups with human wave tactics. Arseholes. These clones were not a big deal to her, just one person and one stick, but they hindered her progress. After several failed attempts at communication, she understood the peculiarities of these clones. They had none of the emotions that humans should have, so she was going to use her Conqueror's Haki to clear them out. In order to train her, Kaido used the Conqueror's Haki as an alarm clock. Although Yamato could not accurately lock her Haki on one person, she could control it freely and had no problem clearing out the miscellaneous soldiers. However, just as she was about to start, a large number of vines erupted from the ground around her, binding up all the Gemel clone soldiers. Go, Miss Yamato, leave these miscellaneous soldiers to me. Those parasitic seeds were fired by Quinn and the seed machine gun. His original plan was to use his superiority to cover the firepower, but it didn't matter now, as Yamato didn't plan to follow the plan anyway. On the way here, he had been pondering Arceus' words. At this time, he had figured out one thing. 5 genesects were more than enough to handle the war situation of a small kingdom. Although Yamato was young, he was also a powerful fighter. Moreover, he would never believe that Yamato did not have a backup plan left by Arceus. The current war situation basically guaranteed the safety of the kingdom. In this case, The main target should be changed. As long as Yamato was happy, then the problem would be perfectly solved. The current situation was that she was unhappy with Judge, so she let Yamato deal with Judge, and he was lazy on the side. No, he was helping Yamato clean up the characters that interfered with her. This time it was a win-win situation. He had more than a dozen ways to eliminate these clone soldiers, but Yamato didn't seem to want to eliminate them now, so he chose a more gentle way. Parasitic seeds plus paralysis toxins such as the grace of nature. Among the cadres of the Beast's pirates, he really didn't rank in single combat, but in this large-scale legion battle, he was the master of the battlefield. Tail. The transformed weapons in the braids were pouring out their firepower. Quinn directly helped Yamato open a path to Judge. Thank you, Uncle Quinn. While running, Yamato's body gradually entered the form of the great mouth true god beast. The dragon tail behind her was the biggest difference between her and the original version. The mace was wrapped with domineering and smashed towards Judge. Zilazzy. Judge also had a spear in his hand, and lightning was wrapped around the tip of the spear. In addition to the transformed superhuman physique, 90% of his force was in his own equipment. Any equipment on him can be said to be the highest achievement of Germa. Don't underestimate me, kid. When Germa was roaming the North Sea, you didn't even know where you were. Do you think you can beat me? Electromagnetic stab. The lightning on the spear was compressed and stabbed towards Yamato. The dazzling electric light almost made it impossible for others to open their eyes, but a thin layer of lens appeared on the gap at the eye of Judge's helmet. The lens of unknown material did not affect Judge. If the leaders of Germa are all guys like you who disregard life, then this organization should just disappear. Yamato slightly changed the way he held the stick and the pace of his feet. Although the strong light made it difficult for her to open her eyes, Judge's speed was much slower than Kaido's. She had already figured out how to deal with Kaido's surprise attacks every day. Judge still swung the handle of his spear forward. The information conveyed by his eyes to his brain told him that he had stabbed the target, but the touch from the front was completely wrong. He had only stabbed the afterimage. Shenzu White Snake Drive. With the acceleration brought by the instantaneous burst, Yamato had already come to the side of Judge. Jan also had a layer of frost on his body, and he smashed towards Judge's chest. Judge's spear had already been thrust out. It was impossible to retract the spear blade immediately at this distance. An inch longer, an inch stronger, an inch shorter, an inch more dangerous. Long weapons were inevitably embarrassed when they were close to him. He could only choose to use the handle of his spear to smash Yamato. At the same time, the cloak behind him seemed to be sucked and wrapped around his upper body. Although it looked like a tights, the combat suit of Germa 66 was actually made of special shape memory armor, which was very strong. The cloak was also a special shield made of the same material. With the double protection, he thought he could block the attack. However, when the mace hit his chest, he realized how wrong his judgment was. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 493, Is Mecha the right path? The double defense of the battle suit and the cloak did not have a significant effect, because Kaido's weapon was the mace, and the armor-piercing effect of blunt weapons was much stronger than that of swords. Even though the characteristics of the battle suit allowed him to temporarily avoid Yamato's coldness, the strange force still passed through his defense and hit his body. Judging from the feedback from his body, his ribs were definitely broken. However, at the same time as being hit by Yamato, his gun barrel also hit Yamato's shoulder, but the touch here was also wrong. He seemed to hit an iron lump this time. Crack! A burst of shattering sounds came into Judge's ears. Yamato's body surface began to crack from the shoulder, and cracks covered his body, and finally shattered like ice crystals. Kiyomilis is the ice armor she made with her own ice. The all-round defense allows her to resist most attacks. Feeling the pain from his chest, Judge's combat boots blow air to bring him to high altitude. From the performance just now, it is not difficult to see that Yamato does not seem to have the ability to fly, and Germa's combat boots are equipped with suspension devices and acceleration devices. With these two devices, they can fly freely. Judge, who is temporarily safe, pressed the button of his combat suit. The combat suit at the injured position automatically locked and fixed the broken bones. At the same time, a painkiller was injected into his body. Miss. Ability user, it seems that you are not a work of art. I knew that Quinn could not make such a perfect work of art. Quinn's address to Yamato combined with her expressiveness made him overturn his previous thoughts. Thinking this way, he felt a lot more comfortable. At least this showed that he did not lose to Quinn in terms of technology. He was thinking about what to do next in the sky, but suddenly there was a sound of breaking air in his ears, and then a Chalisari slashed at him. Although he blocked the attack, the force in his hand also made his palm feel slightly numb, and a huge number of GT8 also appeared in his field of vision. The scalded eyes flashed red, and the cannon behind him looked very dangerous. If it weren't for the fact that Genosek's body was enlarged, and the range of the light cannon behind him could not attack Judge, he would have felt the feeling of being hit by the cannon. If Yamato's identity was a misunderstanding, then the artificial aura on Genosek's body was too obvious. He also recognized that this was the monster that had disturbed his army before. When he looked at the battlefield in the distance again, Germa's army had gone from attacking to a stalemate. Led by Genosect, the defenders of the kingdom of Korkia had launched a counterattack. The position of number 8 was the weak point of Germa's attack. After he judged that it was no longer needed there, he turned to Yamato. Then GT8 temporarily left the battle with Judge and came to Yamato and turned into a flying saucer. Master Oni, please come up. I'll be your mount. Oh, thank you for your help. Yamato jumped directly onto the back of GT8 and flew towards Judge. The light cannon behind GT8 began to charge. After pulling away, Judge re-entered its firing range. In the sky, the gun blade in Judge's hand slashed at Genosek's body, but the gun blade made of special alloy only left a shallow mark under the premise of high temperature lightning. Facing Arceus steel, Judge, who relied entirely on weapons, did not gain an advantage. Looking at the opponent's deformable battle mecha in the solid alloy shell that his gun blade could not leave mark on, Judge suddenly felt that something was wrong. In the end, he was still crushed by Quinn's technology. After this thought appeared in his mind, it became uncontrollable, and some previous news about Quinn also surfaced in his mind. Just like when he was sure that Yamato was not a cyborg, he felt very happy. Compared with being crushed in strength and technology, he could accept the former more. He did not continue to think about it. In the current situation, he had no time to think about this problem. Not only did he lose his superiority, but he was also at a disadvantage in terms of numbers. He attacked Genosect to make Yamato lose the ability to fight in the air. The disadvantage of Yamato's inability to fly had already been reflected, but he had no way to deal with this. Yamato not only used Genosect to fight in the air, but they even cooperated. After Yamato jumped up with Genosect as a pedal, Genosect would remove its transformed posture and participate in the battle. When its airborne time was about to reach its limit, it would turn into a flying pedal again, and it also had a powerful strange artillery. To put it bluntly, the Genosects from GT6 to GT10 were weakened products. Their light cannons did not have the ability to switch attributes, but their power was also good, just less targeted. Although Judge was unwilling to admit defeat, the idea that mecha was the right one inevitably appeared in his mind. Both his battle and the battle of the Clone Corps were at a disadvantage, and Judge had no intention of continuing to fight. After all, he had already obtained the data he wanted. Now he couldn't beat the other side, and he felt that he had touched some technological thresholds. He wanted to wait for technological breakthroughs before studying other things. After issuing the order to the Clone Corps to cover the rear through special methods, his sons began to retreat back to Germa's fleet, and Judge began to think about how to get out. The way those clone soldiers covered the rear was suicide attacks, which was their only way to delay Genosect's pace. Although there were heavy casualties, Yamato was not stupid enough to stop the friendly attack because of pity for the enemy. In her eyes, the Genosect created by Arceus was also a life, and it was much more important than the enemy. Her contempt for Judge's disregard for the lives of his men was not inconsistent with this matter. War would inevitably lead to deaths. She had long understood this truth, and the best way To reduce casualties was to defeat the enemy's main general as quickly as possible. Those clone soldiers can't fly, and their weapons can't lock onto Genesect, but at this time someone helped Judge, and several CP0s in white suits suddenly appeared here. Their target was not Judge, because the Germa Kingdom was still a member of the Allied Nations at that time, so they had no reason to attack, and their target was Quinn. As the key suspect of the world government did not miss this opportunity. This team was originally carrying out other escort missions nearby, but they received intelligence temporarily, handed over the original escort mission to CP9, and turned to carry out the new capture plan. Chapter 494 Quinn Capture Plan. There are naval surveillance ships in the outer waters of Wano country, but due to the special currents of Wano country, those surveillance ships are a certain distance away from Wano country. There are many people with flying abilities in the Beast's pirates, so they have many ways to avoid surveillance ships. In addition, Ammonite has infiltrated the Dendenmushi of the CP0 team like a sieve, and they have been reversely monitored. Quinn's whereabouts were discovered not long ago, and the reason for the discovery was because the king of the kingdom of Corgia revealed Quinn's identity. Although they are non-member countries, they have the contact information of the world government, because there is a creature in this world called a licking dog, and many non-member countries live like licking dogs. The world government disdains them, does not care about their safety, and will not send people to protect them, but these non-member countries are just smugly wanting to get the favor of the world government, and get the opportunity to join the world government. Although it is very sad, this is indeed the best way for a country to exist in this deformed world, to find an umbrella. Collecting protection fees, and protecting the security of the country. Both the world government and some pirates do this. Although pirates such as Kaido, Whitebird, and Charlotte Lin are still pirates in name, their essence is already a warlord who controls one side. But they are still called thieves after all. Unless they are a pirate country from the beginning, most people still choose to trust the navy and the world government. Although Cheyenne Shangjin is very expensive and there are stains in the navy, it is still much better than most pirates. Believe in Quinn. After Quinn defeats Germa, they will have to pay a huge price. Thinking of Quinn's only alive bounty, they have new ideas. Maybe they can take this opportunity to successfully become a member country. So the royal family of this country sold Quinn neatly, which also led to the current situation. As the most trusted executioners of the world government, CP0 knows a lot of secret information, such as Quinn's bounty sword, because of his scientific research ability, and his own strength is just that. Of course, Quinn himself knew that 800 million of his 1 billion bounty was for the pot. As the king of the beast pot, he was helpless about this. These people had actually arrived a long time ago, but they had been observing each other secretly. Quinn's strength to the outside world was too mysterious, and they wanted to know more about Quinn's strength. Kirima, is it really okay for us to give up the original mission? This is an order from above, just execute it. For them, there is no need to think about the reason for the mission. All they have to do is complete the mission. The leading CP0 replied indifferently. Kima is not his name, but his code name. CP0 has many teams, and each team has its own unique code name. Then he continued to instruct his subordinates. Germa seems to be in trouble. That Quinn seems to have incredible skills. Jiaxing, Xiangsh, you go to deal with that little girl. He seems to care about the other party. Fish, you go with me to deal with Quinn. Kima quickly made arrangements, and his subordinates followed their orders and acted separately. The Genesect under Yamato made him pay more attention to the other party. Through his previous observation, those machines seemed to be very extraordinary. Originally, Quinn was wantonly bullying those ordinary Gemel clone soldiers. Under the absolute firepower suppression, those guys could not get close to Quinn, even if they wanted to carry out suicide attacks. With the arrival of GT8, Quinn became more relaxed. He knew very well what level Judge was. In the Mads Institute, excluding Vegapunk and his research objects, Quinn, was the strongest. Caesar was just a scumbag. Although he had natural abilities, he was very weak. As long as he knew the armament haki, most people could deal with him. Judge was stronger than him, but most of his strength was in his weapons and equipment. Only he, Quinn, trained his body when he was transforming his body. After joining the beasts, he had sufficient physical strength and two-color domineering. It was not because he was gifted, but because of the living environment of the beasts. Anyone could train it. However, the appearance of CP0 disrupted Quin's rhythm. Kakuayuki and Kagura appeared beside Yamato first, interrupting her plan to continue chasing Judge. Seeing the CP0 that appeared here, Judge did not stop, but left here with Germa. These CP0s are killing machines that have undergone years of training. With a clear goal, they have no intention of talking at all. Kagura raised her hand and sprinkled a cloud of dust on Yamato. He is the most capable person in this team. He can release powerful hypnotic toxins, which is very convenient when performing secret missions. However, these sleeping powders did not affect Yamato at all, because the genosect under her suddenly emitted a strong suction force. All the hypnotic powders were sucked into its body. Sir, be careful, this powder is poisonous. If inhaled, it may cause unknown effects. As a steel type of Cayman, and most of its body is a special machine structure, the toxin has no effect on genosect at all. It can completely act as a mobile air filter. When Kakuayuki and Kagura attacked Yamato, Quin had already discovered them. This was also Kima's plan. He hoped to use Yamato's attack to distract Quin. It turned out that he succeeded. These people who suddenly appeared here to attack Yamato did distract Quin. If Yamato had an accident, he would not be in a good situation. He was not worried about Judge, because he knew Judge well enough, but now it was different. When he wanted to support Yamato, Kima used the shaving to appear in front of Quin in an instant. Opportunity. Kima raised his thigh high, a purple light flashed on his body, and then he stepped directly on Quin's head. Boom. Quin's head, which had been transformed into a tropical dragon, hit the ground heavily, and several cracks spread along the land to the surroundings. Captain, is it so easy to solve? Looking at Quin, who was almost unresponsive, Fish walked out in disbelief. He couldn't believe that a pirate with a bounty of 1 billion was knocked down by a single blow. Then, without waiting for Kima's answer, he and Kima used the moon step to dodge upwards at the same time. As soon as they dodged, a laser shot out from Quin's tail, leaving a charred groove at the original position. Then Quin pulled his head out of the soil, shook it, and looked up at the sky with disdain. Do you think this little attack can defeat Master Quin? Your attacks are far inferior to those perverts. Chapter 495. What have you done? This was a surprise attack that made him unable to react. After all, he was completely crushed before. Observation haki also requires physical strength. He is not blind, so there is no need to use observation haki to cover his body all the time, which allowed the CP0 to successfully hit him. But hitting is one thing, and whether it has any effect is another matter. Compared with Kaido's stick, this is just a tickle. Shaking his head, Quin looked around. Judge had already led the Germa Corps to retreat, and the remaining clone corps were few and far between. Genosect was cleaning up the battlefield. In addition to the CP0 in front of him, Yamato also had two CP0 members. Although their masks were different, they were the only ones in the sea who wore uniform white suits. Judge's reinforcement? No. How did these guys find us? It was not surprising that CP0 attacked him. After all, he knew that he had too many responsibilities. It was not surprising that the world government took action for those mysterious technologies, but he was surprised how he was discovered. The CP0 monitoring nearby must not have sent out any news, otherwise the Ammonite would have been warned long ago. Since it was transformed, it has evolved into a social terrorist, and the anti-eavesdropping function of the white Dendenmushi is basically ineffective against it. On the way here, he and Yamato basically never left the back of Genosect, and they were always on the high altitude platform. Only when they reached the East China Sea could they be discovered. Did they encounter spies or that king on the way? But this reaction is ridiculously fast. Quin cursed a few words in his heart, and ignored this question for the time being. How they came here is not very important. After dealing with this problem first, he has plenty of time to think about it slowly. It is a big problem to not handle the problem in front of him. If Yamato has a problem, his end will be miserable. It is estimated that he will not have a good end if he falls into the hands of the world government. Therefore, leaving here safely with Yamato is his only choice. It is okay to get injured. After all, according to statistical results, the most serious injuries on Yamato are caused by Kaido. The goal has changed. Protecting Miss Yamato is the highest priority. All restrictions have been lifted. In front of Kima and Fish, Quinn said something they couldn't understand, but the other 4 Genesects on the battlefield in the distance all moved. GT0 to GT5 are complete Genesects. They are stronger overall, and more complete creatures. GT6 to GT10, who came with Quinn, have more artificial parts. Although their overall strength is not as good as that of complete Genesects, they also have their own advantages. To command a complete Genesect, at least you have to let them hear your voice, but these semi-mechanized Genesects are different. Special signal receivers are implanted in their replaceable bodies. Quinn, who is also a cyborg, can directly issue commands within the signal range. As for the so-called lifting of restrictions, it actually refers to self-destruction. Their life parts are all in the head part, and their bodies can be replaced at will. In this case, the function of self-destruction is naturally added. However, the manufacture of their bodies is also a big project, and they will not self-destruct unless it is absolutely necessary. Although the source of Arceus steel is unlimited, it is also of extremely high value. Quinn opened the authority just in case. He knew that Arceus definitely had a backup plan, but he didn't know what it was. At the same time, he also knew another thing. As long as Yamato was fine, it didn't matter if all these machines were destroyed here. The worst case scenario was to go back and remanufacture them. After receiving the new mission, Genesect changed the target of attack in an instant, and Quinn also picked up the 2 machetes hanging on his waist. Come on, let me show you how powerful Master Quinn is. You will regret carrying out this mission. He didn't want to waste time. The fact that so many people came meant that his position had been exposed. Who knew if there were other reinforcement behind him? He didn't know any swordsmanship, and the weapons in his hands seemed to be waving randomly, but with the weapons modified in various parts of his body and the ability of the tropical dragon itself, the dense firepower temporarily overwhelmed the TCP-0S. Boom. Another energy cannon shot from the tail hit the ground, and the charred land was emitting heat. The white suits of Kima and Fish were no longer as neat as before, and even became a little tattered. Are you guys only able to hide? Where did your skills just now go? Quinn's wings recovered, and a large number of flying leaf knives flew towards the 2 of them. The sharp leaves covered the land in front of them like rain. The density of this attack even exceeded their paper-drawn dodge limit, and they could only use shaving and moon steps to dodge to other positions. As for the iron block, Kima's suit became rotten in this way. If Fish hadn't helped him out, I'm afraid he would have died under Quinn's firepower suppression. At this time, the sun in the sky was very hot. It was a sunny day that Quinn took the initiative to release. In this weather, he can quickly recover his physical strength through photosynthesis. His bullets have been improved, and are plant bullets transformed from Pokemon power. In this case, the bullets transformed by his own physical strength are endless for Quinn. Once he is restrained by his attack, it becomes extremely difficult to get out. Xiangshan Kakuauki didn't have any advantages. Hypnotic powder was originally the most common trick used by this team to capture the enemy, but the modified Genesect completely ignored this ability. Under the siege of 6 machines and Yamato, they couldn't take advantage at all. Captain, Kakuauki can't hold on. I know, let's deal with this Quinn first. The intelligence is wrong. This guy's strength is not that simple. As he said that, Kima actually stopped on the spot and began to return life to adjust the power in his body. Quinn naturally did not miss this opportunity. A variety of attacks suddenly shot towards this side, but in the end they missed. When he locked the opponent's target again, he had come to him. Irashikage Earth Dragon Flash. Irashikage should be a flying slash kicked out from the air, but Kima abandoned the attack range of Irashikage and integrated stronger power into the kicking skills. With a flash of white light, a heavy object fell to the ground, and Quinn's eyes became sluggish, allowing Fish, who was looking for an opportunity, to punch him on the head. But this time he didn't move at all. His long neck was as solid as a pillar. Do you know that those 3 bananas are not fully ripe yet? Quinn felt his empty chin, and his anger reached its peak at this moment. Chapter 496. Not everyone can withstand the power of Krypton Gold. Bananas ripen 3 times a year. In order to breed better, he doesn't eat much himself, so every time before the bananas ripen, he looks forward to it the most. Although bananas can be picked in advance to ripen, the taste of bananas that ripen naturally to perfection is completely different from those that are picked in advance for transportation and preservation. The cut bananas obviously can't be taken back, which means that the time he has been looking forward to the most in the past few months has been ruined by the other party. For some reason, Kima and Fish sensed an abnormal and terrifying aura on Quinn. He was completely different from just now. I'm really angry, Queen. He threw away the weapon in his left hand, and the mechanical hand installed on his left arm suddenly stretched out. The front clamp tightly grasped Kima's waist, and the huge grip made him unable to break free. This is Germa's. Germa's ability is not a secret. After all, it has been drawn into a comic. As long as you know that the prototype of the Valainian warriors of the sea and sky is Germa 66, you can know what Germa's abilities are, not to mention that they are also the government's intelligence agency. What Germa? This is my technique. Some things are not only known by Judge. After the banana was cut off, they committed Quinn's second taboo, which was to mention Germa's technique in front of him. He and Judge had never been convinced by each other since they were in MADS. Quinn developed these techniques to prove that his ability was never weaker than the other. He transformed all the techniques that Judge put on the combat suit into his body, and then the extended mechanical arm began to retract, and Kima also felt another huge suction force. Unlike the mechanical arm that controlled him, he felt that his physical strength was constantly draining away. You have to pay the price for what you did, and taste the taste of ultimate drain. Drain, super drain, ultimate drain, a series of skills of grasp Pokemon, all have the same effect, taking the enemy's physical strength to restore their own physical strength, but the power will be greater as time goes by. Since the banana was destroyed, Quinn launched his ultimate drain completely according to the power of draining the opponent. The huge winch force developed by the bloodline factor made it impossible for him to break free, not to mention that the ultimate absorption was still plundering his physical strength. When the existing physical strength was exhausted, the ultimate absorption that continued to be launched was plundering his vitality. Captain. Seeing this, the flying car next to him wanted to come over to help, but Quinn had already prepared something to deal with him. You kid, let me experience the feast of explosion. Before Quinn finished speaking, seeds like bouncing mines suddenly floated on the ground. These were seed bombs, and their source was the seed machine gun that Quinn had just fired. Each seed was a terrible bomb at this time. As for the number, he himself didn't know how many bullets he had fired in the previous firepower pouring. With Quinn's induction, this place turned into a sea of fire in an instant. Even if it is now the 1.0 version, where the power of the bomb has not been upgraded, these continuous seed bombs are not something the opponent can withstand. He doesn't have a field like the divine power space that can avoid explosive attacks in minutes. Time passed slowly, the flying car and the explosion had stopped moving, and the resistance of Gimmer in Quinn's hand was getting weaker and weaker. After he almost turned into a mummy, Quinn cut him in half with a knife. And Yamato didn't seem to need his help. The battle there had already ended, but GT9 and GT10 only had a head left, and they were now suspended in the air with flamethrowers. The way these Genesects dealt with problems was more mechanical. According to their analysis of the battle situation, they chose the fastest way to fight. With Yamato as the highest priority, the cost was not important. As for who was stronger between Yamato and the TCP-0S, they did not take it into their consideration. So in the battle, they chose to disintegrate on their own, restraining the other party at the cost of 2 bodies, and then let other Genesects conduct concentrated fire attacks, and at the same time, activated the self-destruction program. The price paid was not small, but the results were also obvious. Don't you really feel pain? Looking at the 2 Genesects with only their heads left, Yamato's voice was a little distressed. No, Lady Oni, our bodies are just machines. We can replace them with new ones after we return. This is the most efficient way to fight. Please don't worry. At this time, Quinn also came here and said to Yamato, looking at the devastated battlefield, Miss Yamato, we should leave. This place is not safe. If it were him, he would not worry about anything. These CP0s should have been wiped out, and he did not see them passing on the news, but it is better to be careful now. The reward for Korkia has been received. Although the king notified the world government, they still paid the payment first. His idea was to wait for the world government to defeat Quinn before taking the money back, but now it seems that there is no such opportunity. As for revenge, they can't figure out where these CP0s came from now, and they didn't leave any alive for interrogation. He plans to study this issue after leaving here. Even if it was really done by the kingdom of Korkia, they can't escape. Not everyone can leave a country directly like Oz. Okay, shall we go to the North Sea next? According to the original itinerary, they still had a mission in the North Sea, but now Quinn was not sure whether they should continue to carry out this matter. So he chose to contact Onigashima. Just in case, he still used Rotom to make the contact. Dendenmushi was at risk of being eavesdropped, but there was no known creature or machine that could eavesdrop on Rotom's information. Lord Arceus, we encountered a little trouble, but it has been resolved. What do you think next? Quinn briefly explained to Arceus what happened here, and began to ask about the next plan. Continue according to the plan before departure, don't worry too much. Zekrom and Reshiram did not start, which meant that the other party was safe. Then Quinn was taken away by Yamato. The main topic was the issue of Genesect. Don't worry, their bodies will be made soon, just let number 7 bring them back first. Hearing Arceus' promise, Yamato confidently followed Quinn to continue his actions. On the battlefield of the kingdom of Korgi, Kima, who was sucked dry and then chopped in half, actually climbed up again. 2 updates today. Chapter 497, Germa's changing style. The shrunken eyelids opened again, and the zombie-like palms struggled to support their bodies and climbed up. Quinn. This guy. Kima's voice was extremely hoarse. Whether it was the war machines or the abilities displayed by Quinn himself, they were far beyond their expectations. Although in previous battles, Quinn had already shown that his abilities were not ordinary brachiosaurs. But this ability to plunder vitality was far beyond his expectations. If he was not a person with abilities, he would probably have been wiped out with a team. There were some scattered footsteps not far away. They were the observers sent by the kingdom of Korgi after seeing that the fighting opportunity here was over, but the next moment, their chests were pierced by unknown attacks. It's just in time. It was Kima's fingers that pierced them, and his body was inexplicably extended like an indescribable object. Animal system bug fruit earthworm form. This fruit did not give him a big increase in battle, and after the transformation, he was so ugly that it was hard to describe, so Kima rarely used him in battle. What he used most was the life-saving ability brought by the earthworm. Strictly speaking, the earthworm is not an insect, but because of this appearance, it was still placed in the bug fruit. The earthworm will not die after being cut in half, but can generate 2 new earthworms, provided that the knife is not cut vertically. The ability of the earthworm is not completely replicated on him. At least he will not become too Gimmer, but will grow new limbs from the upper body. Through this ability, he has also achieved the regeneration of broken limbs in the past few missions. And this rebirth consumes physical strength. If he only lost an arm, he can replenish his consumption by eating a lot of food and returning his life, but now it is not possible. Quinn has sucked him dry, and his body has been cut in half. He doesn't have the time to recover slowly, so he can only replenish his needs by plundering the lives of others. Quinn was careful enough. After sucking the human dry, he also made a finishing move. The only mistake was that he didn't cut the head. The earthworm is not immortal. As long as the position of the cut is accurate enough, it can still kill the opponent. Whether it was beheading or vertical chopping, this could be done perfectly, but Quinn didn't expect that the other party was a power user. After all, it was rare for someone to not use his power until death. This was also Gimmer's judgment. Even if he used his power, he might not be the opponent of the other party. Instead of fighting with Quinn, it was far better to save his life honestly. Facts proved that he made the right bet. His shriveled body was slowly recovering, but the price was the death of several other soldiers. Then the first thing he did was to take off a pair of pants. He was not a natural type or a mythical beast who could enter the power state with clothes. The original suit pants had been blown to pieces, and the new limbs were bare, so naturally he had to find something to cover them. Then he continued to search on the battlefield, and he was not looking for the bodies of his companions. When they were still alive, these people were his subordinates, but dead was dead, and there was no point in finding the bodies. He was looking for the fragments of the Genesect explosion. Finally, he left here with some metal fragments. CP0 has secret supply stations all over the world. He is going to report the situation here. Judging from the current performance, they seem to have underestimated Quinn's own strength. While Gimma retreated to the safe house, Judge also led the Germa Kingdom to retreat towards the Red Earth continent. This war was undoubtedly a failure, and they failed to capture the kingdom of Korkia. But they also had their own gains. First of all, the clone soldiers were undoubtedly successful. After retreating to a safe place, he gathered all the scientific researchers in Germa together. This team is one of the foundations of Germa. They are not clones, but geniuses recruited by Judge in various fields. At the same time, he himself is also the leader of this team. At this time, he has proposed a new idea, bloodline factor armor. Germa's combat suit is a special material. This material can make clothes harder than steel, and naturally has other uses. Under Judge's leadership, a mecha plan that can only be controlled by Germa super soldiers was proposed. According to biology, pure humanoid mechas are not suitable for combat, and the size of wild beasts is much more convenient than humans in various battles. But it is difficult for the driver to simulate that. Referring to the transformation ability of Genesect, he believes that the mecha should be able to transform and switch between human and beast forms. General, there is no problem with this idea in theory, but we don't have the kind of metal materials that can be transformed. If we want to achieve transformation and high intensity combat, the materials we already have cannot achieve this problem. Don't worry about this problem. I also know a little about the research of memory metal. It won't take much time. This is the benefit they got when they worked with Vegapunk. Judge, Quinn, and Caesar Killer may have bad personalities and different talents, but their scientific research capabilities are top-notch in this world. Positive research may not be possible, but reverse deduction is still no problem. Vegapunk has also touched on the subject of memory metal. Even Germa's combat suit has a certain shadow of memory alloy, but it's not particularly large. Although the Wapo alloy made by Wapo with his ability has some defects, it can still be used. After Judge brought up the new topic, he naturally had a way to study the problem in that area, and the mechanical aspect was also his main focus. Now that the children have started to be normal and there is no problem with the clone soldiers, it is just the right time to start new research. After getting Judge's confirmation, these people also began to diverge their thinking and study the so-called mecha, and some even proposed to consider merging for greater power. On the other side, Quinn and Yamato were on their way to the North Sea. At this time, there were only 2 Genesects left with them. The remaining intact one had already returned to Wano country in advance with 2 self-destructing Genesects. Quinn looked very sad, but he was just feeling sorry for his banana. Even if he killed all those people, he would not feel relieved. For him, those people were not as important as his banana. As for the bounty, he no longer cared. More debts would not weigh on him, and a few more pots would not affect anything. It can also be confirmed from the eavesdropping of Ammonite that they have always been highly suspicious of him, rather than affirming him. The Navy is not stupid, although they often make stupid mistakes, but the beasts did not keep Arceus' abilities a secret, and the information obtained internally was completely different from what was observed from the outside. Although they had basically confirmed that he had a problem, they did not completely give up the investigation of Arceus. Chapter 498 The Real Harm of Secondhand Smoke. Although the number of Genesects has decreased, Quinn has become more at ease. When communicating before, Arceus' location was undoubtedly on Higashima. He even heard the screams of Ulti and Page 1. This made him more convinced that Arceus definitely had a backup plan. Although he didn't know what that backup plan was, it was definitely much stronger than him. The upper limit of Arceus' strength is also a mystery within the Beast's pirates. He rarely takes action, and the few times he took action were all earth-shattering battles. The highest known record so far is the defeat of the Admiral of the Navy headquarters. Coupled with the many miracles, Quinn knows very well that Arceus may only need one move to deal with him. In this case, he can be more reckless. Damn CP0, if it weren't for those guys. The hatred of destroying bananas is irreconcilable. Now all creatures with CP in their names have become his mortal enemies. However, unlike Quinn, who is full of resentment, Yamato is very excited at this time and is full of expectations for the future journey. Uncle Quinn, where is the place for the transaction? It's the Beast Island in the North Sea. It will take a while to get there. Don't worry, Miss Yamato. It's just a simple transaction. There shouldn't be any accidents this time. I'm not worried. I'm just very happy. This is also a way to help my foster father and father. This is why she is so excited. In the past, someone followed her when she sailed. Although it was for safety protection, she was more like a trial taker, completing the tasks assigned by others. But this time is different. Although there is a Quinn next to her, Quinn did not provide too much military support. Before the unexpected factor of CP0 appeared, Genesect did not intervene much. The next task is to trade 2 devil fruits on behalf of the beast pirates. In the past, this was something that only carders like Olga would do. This made Yamato feel like she had grown up. Now she can do things for others, instead of being a child who can only watch and learn. To go from the East China Sea to the North Sea, you need to cross the Red Soil continent, but they did not go directly to the transaction site, but landed after crossing the Red Soil continent. Quinn and Yamato are still human beings. They need to eat and rest normally. Being able to persist in battle for several days and nights does not mean that they will do so in normal times. For these people with monster physiques, eating and resting on weekdays are very important. It is precisely because they store a lot of energy in their spare time that they can persist longer in sudden battles, and Genesect also needs to be recharged. This is the difference between the modified version and the complete version. The 6 complete Genesects from GT0 to GT5 are no different from Pokemon. They can recover their physical strength by eating and resting, but the modified version is different. They don't need too much rest, because the mechanically modified body will not get tired at all. Similarly, they can't replenish energy by eating, and can only absorb energy such as electricity and fuel like machines. However, this is a world of black technology. Coke can be used as energy to develop special engines. As a member of MADS, Quinn naturally has some black technology inventions. The energy reserves of these Genesects are hybrid, charging, fuel, and even burning stones directly. Now the 2 Genesects are eating stones to replenish the needs of the body. If he hadn't been reluctant to eat, he would have developed a strange machine that uses rice cake and red bean soup as energy. While GT6 and GT7 were digging soil and eating stones, Quinn and Yamato were enjoying local specialties in the town. Among all the carders of the beasts, Quinn's hedonism was the highest. He would never choose to live in the open air if he could live a more comfortable life. The pig cart in Wano is a feature. He can fly much faster than the boars pulling the cart, but in order to show off, he always rides his own boar cart to pass through the country. At this time, he was sitting in a restaurant. Although he was tall, he was not too eye-catching. Ordinary people would not care about the bounty order. Although there are many pirates in this world, most people's lives have little intersection with pirates, especially these affiliated countries of the 4 seas. Quinn is very famous in the pirate and navy circles, but it is not the case here among civilians. The only pirate who is so popular that he is known to the whole world is Goldie Roger. To say the least, even if they were discovered, a large number of people would choose to turn a blind eye. Simply notifying the Navy would not bring much reward, and they were not capable of catching the other party directly. In that case, it would be better to have less trouble than more. Otherwise, fighting would not benefit them at all, and it might even backfire. Alabaster is an example. Ace walked inside with the white bird flag behind him, as if no one was around. Except for those bounty hunters, ordinary people had no interest in reporting. If this pirate ran away, no one could tell whether he would be retaliated against afterwards. While waiting for food, Quinn was also looking around to see if there was anything fun to do, but Yamato accidentally stabbed him in the back again, because she didn't know when she picked up the cigar that Quinn had placed on the table, and it was even cut. Miss Yamato, this thing is not something you should touch. He was a little glad that Yamato's ability was ice instead of fire, otherwise the cigar would have been lit. Is it not possible? I see Aunt Rico likes to smoke a pipe, and you always have a cigar in your mouth during the trip. People of this age are curious, and cigarettes are the most harmful to people of this age. Because they don't know what cigarettes are, they are curious, and after trying them, they become addicted. This is how many people become addicted to cigarettes. If no one in the family or around them smokes, the chance of this happening will be much lower. Among the Carters of the Beast's pirates, only Quinn has a serious smoking addiction, and he smokes cigars almost every day. In terms of the physique of these monsters, the harm of second-hand smoke is not a big deal, but if Arceus knew that Yamato learned to smoke after following him out, he might become a target at the training ground the next day. Setsuna didn't take his photo off the shooting range until the day of their engagement. Miss Yamato, believe me, Lord Arceus will not like you smoking, and for my safety, please do not touch it, please. She was raised from a young age and some of her personality has been fixed. Arceus has never refused her most things. The last time she was strictly prohibited was tattooing. After hearing Quinn's solemn request, she gave up the idea. Uncle Quinn, how about we go to the movies? Look, isn't that brother Tesoro and sister Stella? Looking in the direction of Yamato's finger, a movie poster was hanging at the entrance of the theater. Chapter 499, The Mermaid Movie. Some ancient islands naturally cannot show movies, but this is the Fourth Seas, not the Grand Line. Most of the changeable solar terms and strange islands are distributed in the Grand Line and the Car Belt. Although there are differences in the development of the islands in the Fourth Seas, they are generally at the same level. There will be no gap between the Stone Age and the Electrical Age. As long as it is a richer country or island, the entertainment facilities are very complete. Quinn stopped to rest just to enjoy, so he would naturally choose an island with better development. Cinemas are not uncommon in this place. Tesoro? It's really him. Has the movie been released? Before he and Yamato left Onigashima, similar news came from Tesoro. This was the movie shot on Fishman Island. The shooting time was not very long, but the post-editing and smoothing relationships took more time. The world government is the world government after all. Although movies can be circulated without their approval, if you want to play them openly in all member countries, you have to get the approval number of the world government. Even so, some countries will still prohibit the broadcast of some films, because such films will violate their local customs, and those protagonists may be heretics in the local area. As for Yamato's address, he had given up resistance, but he comforted himself. Yamato called others big brothers and big sisters, but only called himself uncle, which was equivalent to being a generation older than them. He did not refuse Yamato's proposal to watch a movie, which would only take 2 hours at most, but he seemed to feel the discrimination against him in the cinema. What? Can't I sit in the first row? Ah. Isn't this money? Do you look down on me? No, this guest, but if you sit in the first row. Looking at Quinn's body shape, the ticket seller showed an embarrassed look. If Quinn sat in the first row, others might not be able to watch it. This body shape would probably block the projection port of the projector. If Yamato didn't like to be more lively, Quinn would definitely choose to book the theater directly, but in the end he could only choose the VIP room on the second floor, because he couldn't sit in the ordinary seats at all. The beginning of the movie is very simple. As the heir to the king, Tetsuo encountered a storm at sea and unfortunately fell into the water. After that, he was rescued by a mermaid named Stella. At first, he was also afraid of mermaids and fishmen, because in the rumors of his country, mermaids and fishmen are evil ghosts who eat people, and they carry deadly viruses, which can pass on fish plague to humans, as long as they come into contact. This is not his fiction, but many places really have this misunderstanding about fishmen. But after getting along, he found that it was all prejudice of the world, and then they fell in love smoothly. But as a prince of a country, the king did not agree with this, and even bribed a group of pirates to kidnap the mermaid. He believed that his son should marry a princess of a country, and survive with a powerful kingdom. But the ambition of the pirates was not only that, they also kidnapped the king for a huge ransom, and finally the mermaid took the king away from the clutches without any grudges. In this process, the queen secretly found Tesoro and let him know what happened. Then at the last moment, the male protagonist appeared, knocked down those people, and everyone lived happily together. There are a lot of private goods in it, such as the king and queen doting on their son, and invited the best vocal teacher in the country for him. That was Tesoro's dissatisfaction with his life. He longed for a pair of parents who could support him, but reality had shattered his ideals, and he could only make up such a fact in the movie. The main purpose of the film is to promote that mermaids and fishmen are equal to humans, and that parents and children need more communication. It does not pursue any artistic quality that ordinary people cannot understand. He did not make this film for the purpose of winning awards. The most important thing is to make ordinary people willing to watch it. Although the plot is not so superior, it is also above the average line. Coupled with the grand special effects and realistic fighting that are free of charge, the response to this movie is quite good. However, Yamato was unable to get involved because most of the actors in it were people she knew, and it always seemed a bit out of place. When other people looked at some touching scenes, she would always substitute some funny pictures, which was the same effect as when she watched The Shining and found that everyone had Zhang Wen's average face and she could not be moved at all. The scene of Fishman Island attracted her instead, which was much more real than the postcards Jack brought back. So Fishman Island was also added to her future sailing goals. Quinn planned to ask Tesoro for the contact information of several supporting roles later. He had 2 more favorite actresses. For ordinary people, this movie has a certain popular science nature. At the request of Otterheim, Tesoro gave Fishman Island a 2-minute narration to popularize their legality. At the end, he also mentioned the law that mermaids and fishmen are people, not fish. But in other places, the response to this movie is completely different, especially in Fishman Island. Otterheim was moved to tears after watching this movie. The plot is only part of it. The most important thing is that she felt some long lost good emotions among the audience. Some came from fishmen and mermaids, and some came from humans who stayed in Fishman Island. This was a very good start for her. Fishman Island does not have a dedicated cinema, but for this movie, she specially asked the Beast Fruit Mining branch to get a projection machine and screened it for free at Giant Kaolang Square. Under the instigation of Otterheim, many people chose to watch this movie, and some people came to watch it for free with the intention of getting it for free. Movies are a rare commodity in Fishman Island, and many people have heard of this word for the first time in their lives. So when the movie was shown, the Jidakoran Square was packed with people, and Neptune even sent out the Seeking Army to maintain order here. Tezulo did not abandon reality. He mentioned one thing many times in the film through Rusalka's words, that is, the land is very dangerous for mermaids, and young mermaids should not go near there. He does not want more mermaids to appear unexpectedly because of a movie. He hates the identity of a slave. In the original timeline, he had completely lost his light because of Stella's death and his life as a slave, so he chose to use money to enslave more people. But now it's different. He is a senior member of the Anti-Slavery Association on the Red Earth continent. The goal of this association is to get the world government to abolish slavery, but it is completely useless. At most, it can only help some people in distress in the dark. Chapter 500, The Elephant Family brought by Dover. Sometimes just a little help can completely change a person's fate. Tesoro has a deep understanding of this. If he hadn't met Yamato, he couldn't imagine what would happen. So he would help some people to the best of his ability. The response to Fishman Island was good, and Fishman Mining also had a group of new employees. But Neptune also understood that this movie brought not only opportunities, but also crises. The movie shows the beautiful side of Fishman Island, which can bring friends with good intentions, but also enemies with malicious intent. There is one thing he didn't tell Otterheim, that is, there was also an arms order sent along with the movie tape. Maybe he really needs to consider this thing. On the other hand, the Sun Pirates also received similar films, but some people didn't want to watch them at all when they were shown. Instead, Junbei, whose attitude towards humans has gradually changed due to Tiger's influence, watched it with great interest. Hey, Aaron, are you really not going to watch it? I think I saw Zali just now. TSK, I'm not interested. It's a movie about fishmen made by humans. They don't even know what fishmen are. But in the end, he was still taken there. After all, there were not only humans, but also fishmen and mermaids in it. However, the reason he watched the movie was to criticize the other party's wrong behavior. On the back of the Elephant Master, as foreign things were constantly input into Zhao Bai's it sooner, movie playback equipment was also popularized here. At this time, several fur tribes were debating whether there was a term fish fur. They saw the scene under the sea for the first time in the movie. On a passenger ship in the East China Sea, Sanji, who had just finished helping in the kitchen, also saw the movie shown in the restaurant from the window. Looking at the mermaid sister under the sea, he was inevitably a little stunned. Not all places are showing this movie. For example, the Kingdom of Goa in the East China Sea regards this movie as a banned movie. In their opinion, there is nothing more stupid than promoting that kind of alien race. The movie has slightly changed the world's view of Fishman Island, but it will not fundamentally affect anything. The influence of culture is a subtle process. After many years, those who have watched the film and arrived at Fishman Island may change their minds and do something different. After a short rest, Yamato and Quinn continued to move towards the island of the transaction. The time for the transaction was very close. In the Punk Hazard Research Institute, the metal residue brought back by Kima had appeared on the laboratory table here. At this time, a slightly fat man with a robot-like appearance like a clockwork key on his head was studying it. The 04 on his chest explained his identity. This was an avatar of Vegapunk. In order to have more research time, Vegapunk conducted magical research on himself and eventually gave birth to many of himself. Number 1 Shakaya, representing integrity. Number 2 Lilith, representing evil. Number 3 Edison, representing thought. Number 4 Pythagoras, representing wisdom. Number 5 Atlas, representing violence. Number 6 York, representing desire. There is a wonderful connection between these 6 avatars. Only number 6 York can eat and drink, and the other avatars can maintain their prime. Did Quinn make this? Not sure, but I suspect it was Quinn. These are some battle scenes recorded by CP0. Please take a look. The assistant next to him turned on the screen. It was a scene of Genesect leading Yamato to fight against Judge, which CP0 secretly recorded before the operation. Looking at the transformed Genesect, Pythagoras' eyes showed strong interest. He had studied the subject of memory metal, but it was not perfect. Even what Judge said before was just a barely usable material obtained by trial and error. But judging from Genesect's performance, this is obviously a more perfect technology. Complex instruments began to analyze the metal fragments, but in the end they found nothing. This was not any existing metal, and the failure of the instrument instead made Pythagoras excited. Interesting. Quinn has already touched this field. Get out. Don't bother me. I don't have time to take care of you next. Vegapunk's clone almost turned his face and refused to recognize him. After driving the assistant out, he picked up the brand new equipment and started his own research. While Vegapunk was studying how the material Arceus steel came into being, Yamato and Quinn also arrived near the Beast Island. This island is called Beast Island not because there are many beasts on it, but because of the unique trees here. These trees do not follow any rules during their growth process, and each one grows like a wooden sculpture of a beast. From a distance, the top of the mountain in the center of the island looks like the head of an unknown beast, so it is named Beast Island. In the center of the island, the Don Quixote family has been waiting for 2 days. This kind of long-distance transaction cannot be accurately timed and can only be planned in a rough range, but Doflamingo now has a very wrong feeling. Treble, when was the last time that old woman caught up with us? 3 months. Dover, she hasn't tracked us in these 3 months. Doflamingo tapped his fingers lightly on the armrest of the chair, but his expression was ugly. During that period of time, the crane stuck to him like a plaster, and he couldn't get rid of it no matter what. Even if he changed his base, he would be found by the other party in half a month. Someone was deliberately leaking his whereabouts, but he didn't know who this person was. I said Dover, Corazon just left 3 months ago. I hope he didn't ask Virgo to speed up. He'd better climb up high enough as soon as possible and find out who this person is. I see, but Dover, are you really going to give them those 2 fruits for free? This one is fine, but that one is an ancient species. Seeing that Doflamingo didn't want to say more about the traitor, Treble quickly changed the subject. Pointing to the 2 fruits on the table, Treble was a little reluctant. They were the goods they used to trade with the beasts pirates, the animal type elephant fruit form and the animal type elephant fruit ancient species mammoth form. The ordinary elephant fruit is nothing, but the ancient species is still very important to them. Hey, Torable, don't be so petty. They are all beasts. Whether in the new world or the underground world, they are overlords. As long as we establish contact with them, we will get more. It's just a small effort, but as long as we succeed, it will be worth it. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.